What's up, everybody? Let me double check the mic here. Can everybody hear me okay? Give me a one in the chat if you can hear me. I just had to plug this mic in, so I want to make sure it's working right. How's everybody's Saturday going? Good to see everybody. Sean Smith Jr. already with the level 1 membership. Thank you so very much. Thank you very much. We're going to start having, I'll put more and more up there. I try to get every episode up for the a little bit early for the members and shorts, but I want to do some extra, maybe members only live stream stuff like that. Let me turn this on. Oh, I gotta turn that up. Okay, so tonight we'll let everybody kind of roll in, but the usual, we'll fill you guys in on what's going on. Tonight we're going to talk about a little bit of an episode recap. If you have any questions or you have any comments on the Marines episode from this morning, feel free to put them in the chat. We'll get to those. And we're going to cover the Battle of Chapultepec Castle in a little greater detail, because I don't think we haven't really gotten to that even in our previous Marines episode. And I don't know, I think it's a really cool story from both sides, which is interesting. It's one that is really gone down more in Mexican national folklore than ours. But I think it's underappreciated from the American side. So we'll talk about that. We're going to talk about Smedley Butler. Very interesting character. I think that'll fit really well with everyone's interest in history, in particularly military history, particularly American military history, and a little smidge of a conspiracy. So that'll be fun. And then we're going to get into a bit of a culinary dilemma I run into. How to I'm gonna have to make these Dubai chocolate cupcakes. So we're gonna break down how we do that, but that's gonna be in quite a while. But hang around for that. It's gonna be interesting. Okay, so let me pull up my notes real quick. I always have to do this. I forget to do this when we start because I'm so excited to see y'all. Let me make sure I'm not missing anybody in the chat. Love your content, man. Keep it coming. Oakley 4070. Good to see you guys. Arizona boy, what's up? Good to see you. Oh, I got your latest. I've been traveling the last 2 days, so I got your latest oatmeal. I got your latest email. See, I'm tired, but I'm ready to go. I had like 3 cups of coffee. Got another one here. So no cream, no sugar. Let's see. So first of all, we're going to get into the Battle of Chapultepec. It's in the very, very end of the Marine compilation. What's up, Doc? Good to see you. We're letting all the regulars pile in here. The Battle of Chapultepec Castle, though, one that I think is very interesting, a very compelling story from both sides for a number of reasons, because it's so important for the history of America. It's so important for the history of Mexico. And it took place in a literal castle. It's not like a metaphorical castle, a literal castle that's built on a former Aztec temple. So a lot going on there. And it was a lot to try and fit into the episode. It's September 13th, 1847, when Army and Marines and a few naval forces arrive at the outskirts of this castle in Mexico City. It's kind of on the outskirts of Mexico City at the time. And at the time, it's Mexico's equivalent of West Point. It is their national military academy. The Mexican government, Santa Anna, the higher ups all know that the United States forces are coming. So they get all the cadets out of there. It wasn't, sometimes it's portrayed as a cadet's last stand. And there was just a couple that insisted on staying. Everyone else, understandably, as you would hope, all these 10-year-olds to 18-year-olds all, leave and go to the relative safety of the interior of Mexico City. But I think four or five end up staying, insist on staying. There's no way you're going to move these guys. They're holding everybody else up. So they're going to stay. In the meantime, while the regular Mexican forces are reinforcing the walls and taking their positions and loading cannons, et cetera, inside the castle, the American forces are coming in from a long march. They've landed kind of in the Gulf of Mexico, Gulf of America, whatever you want to call it, and come inwards and westward. And that's where the U.S. Marines played a big role, because anytime there needed to be a amphibious landing, there's only one force that's really familiar with how to do that in the 19th century, especially in the American military, and it's the United States Marines. And so they played a big task in getting the forces all to the beach at Veracruz and making the landing even possible, and getting the troops overland to the actual battlefields, especially specifically to Mexico City. They've been fighting this whole way, waging small stage or smaller scale combat, kind of village by village. But they're making their way to Chapultepec Castle and ultimately to Mexico City. Chapultepec is kind of the last bastion of Mexican defense between American forces and Mexico City. So it's a large, formidable structure, but there's a number of American troops. Most of them are Army troops, but there's a sizable contingent that's U.S. Marines. And what they're going to have to do is a medieval mission while being shot at. So they're going to have to take these scaling ladders, run up to the base of the castle, and then one guy at a time. If you've ever seen Kingdom of Heaven, very similar, or the tactics that the Mexicans used at the Alamo, very similar and just as harrowing. Like we kind of don't think about how bad the Mexican forces mission was at the Alamo. They had to run up to an entrenched position and then put ladders up and climb those one at a time. Were they outnumbering the Texans? Yes, but that's not fun. That's not a way you want to spend a Saturday evening. You want to spend it here. So that's what's facing the Marines and several Army soldiers, several Army regiments. But it's not an easy mission for them, and it's a last stand. It's kind of Mexico's Alamo in many, for all intents and purposes. Like I said, it's not entirely populated with young troops. There's several, maybe 4 or 5, maybe it might be more than that. You kind of get in the swing of all this, and exact numbers kind of fly out your head when it's live. But several cadets have stayed back, and they know this is it. They're going to have to hold the line, or very likely their capital city, and then very likely, almost certainly, their country will fall, at least be forever altered. You're going to lose. We kind of think of Mexico in its current iteration, but if you think of it in 1830s terms, you're going to lose about a third, somewhere in there, of the North American continent. Or at least you're going to lose a third of what is today the territorial lower 48 of the United States. That's a huge, huge loss. And it did forever alter world history, the way this played out. But it was a standoff. You're kind of seeing a shooting match of artillery and small arms fire for a while. But then eventually, just after sunup, I believe, let me check that because it's been a while since I wrote that one. But eventually, just after sunup, they make a head-on charge. This is all you can really do, is kind of lay down some artillery and make a charge. It's not wholly dissimilar from what they did in World War I, where you have a defilade of artillery fire kind of cover where you're going and make your defensive force hide and then sweep in underneath that. So that's what they're doing. And this battle starts unfolding. And I think there's several pictures of it, several engravings, and they just don't do it justice. You really have to think of a castle scaling, a medieval castle scaling, but then replace those with 1830s troops, except leave the swords. So it's close quarters fighting basically from the get-go. The Marines are trying to get up the ladders. You're losing several guys in that process. The American forces lost, let me actually double check that number. It's a substantial amount. It is 138 killed, 673 wounded. So a substantial amount of casualties and KIA. But finally, they break through. They break through to the top. And then it's almost worse from there. From the top of the castle, it's all closed in. They can't even really get in formation or can't get an adequate range for their rifles. It's all just so close quarters that you can't do what you've been trained to do. So it's just this street fight on top of a castle, but it unfolds in favor of the Americans, as there's just so many of them. They're just starting to overwhelm the castle. Like, it's a crude analogy, but like ants. Like, it's just, there's so many of them that they're just starting to overwhelm this anthill. So the fight keeps unfolding. It's several hours, it's 60 to 90 minutes. I thought it was 2 or 3 hours. 60 to 90 minutes, but that's kind of even more to the point that the intensity of this fighting just goes bam, bam, bam. And the castle is taken relatively quickly, except for this one little corner. And that's where the cadets are fighting. And these they're kids. They're like 12, 13, 14 years old. They are fighting they are fighting their butts off. Um, but they run out of ammunition. They obviously aren't as physically strong, aren't as well trained, and don't have the numbers to contend with the advancing American forces. And it's a pretty grisly task from the Americans' side too, because they can't really take them prisoner if they won't surrender, and the cadets will not surrender, and they're starting to jump off the edges of these walls. So it's a long fall. And that's all she wrote, right? If you jump off the wall, this is all semi-apocryphal, right? But this is the dearly held national folklore of Mexico, is that the last kid grabbed the Mexican flag, wrapped himself in it, and jumped off the wall. And they're known as Los Niños Héroes, or the hero boys, or the hero children. That'd be the hero boys, right? But they are as dearly held as Bowie and Crockett are for us, with our uh, national consciousness of the Alamo. That's the Los Niños Héroes for Mexican history. But like I said, as well known as it is in Mexican history, it's really overlooked in American history, and it's a shame because it's the first line in the USMC, in the Marine Corps hymn. Marines likely know it. I've talked to a lot of my friends are Marines, and they all have some knowledge of it. They at least know like what the battle is and where it comes from, but it's just woefully overlooked in American history. And like I said, a lot of people know the Marine Corps hymn, or at least the first two lines, the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. And we've talked about the shores of Tripoli in our last Marine Corps history episode, so go check that out. But the halls of Montezuma is the former Aztec temple that became the Chapultepec castle that became the site of the battle. And today, I believe it's still the Chapultepec castle, and it's still up and going. It's a huge stone structure. So it's a literal castle, the site of one of the most seminal battles in the history of North America. That really was the last stand for Mexico. Once they lost that, and once Mexico City falls, which is something else that we really need to talk about, because once Mexico City fell and the Texas Rangers and Jack Hayes rolled in, that was a bad scene. Like the Rangers were really they were really pissed off. And they did some wild stuff in Mexico City. There's plenty of accounts of them riding into the city, and the citizens just being like, "Oh, this is not good." Like being necessarily afraid of them, because they knew reprisal wasn't going to be in the way of extra taxes and fines and stuff. It was going to be in the way of a blood debt. So that's another story for another time. But do you have any questions about Chapultepec Castle? Just one that I wanted to dive a little bit deeper into, because it's a fascinating story. I think if people really could, grasp it, it'd be like mind blowing. That's wild that happened, and it happened in North America. This crazy castle battle happened in North America, in Central America, 150 years ago, 165 years ago, something like that. My math's not great. All right, I'm going to check the chat real quick before we move on to Smedley Butler. Anybody know about Smedley Butler? I'm sure we do. If Elite Supergun is in here, who I saw earlier today, he will know. I'm positive. Nartek, if the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets guarded by if the Army and the Navy ever look on heaven's scenes, they will find the streets guarded by United States Marines. That's a good rhyme. I like that. Is that an official Marines rhyme, Nartek? You a Marine, I'm guessing? Let's see. All right, I'm scanning the chat. Sorry. It's not as easy as you would think. It gets very convoluted in here. But thank you all for chipping in. Let's see. Arizona Boy says you're coming home from Colorado for a funeral. Oh, hopefully all is well. That's never fun. Terry R says, howdy. Good to see you, Terry R. Any kind of artillery the Mexican had at the time? I thought this question might come up, and I still didn't have time to look. I would have to look it up, and I'm not. You guys might notice throughout the show, I'm not the best with artillery or with ammunition and artillery because sometimes I have mistaken that a little bit and been soundly corrected in the comments. I will look though, and I will bring that next chat or next live stream. Let's see. El Progressive says 1805, Tripoli, Africa. The first time the American flag was planted on foreign soil. Correct. Yeah. And we talked about that. And there's a stream, I believe 2 streams ago, that is the history of the United States Marines in the Old West. It's a live stream, right? So it's a little precursor to tonight's or today's earlier episode. But yeah, we really kind of went into that, fairly in depth because it's the part of the first line in the Marine Corps hymn, and a lot of people don't know what that even means, and that any of that even happened, or that Tripoli was even a part of a slave trade. It's a really unknown, again, an overlooked aspect of American history. Pet Detectives, a $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you. That's what drives this whole thing. So thank you. The Marines must have been determined. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a grizzly. Both sides were very determined. It was so high stakes. So much was on the line, and we don't even know about it today. Well, you guys know now. Affirmative. End of the Marines hymn. Nartag. Well, thank you for your service. Hopefully, we're doing the Marines justice here. Do you know about Smedley Butler, Nartag? Sanjivar Rogers. What's up, man? Good to see you. What's up, Clock Cutters? Clock Cutter jumping in here. Some lore I heard, possibly apocryphal, is that Smedley Butler was a DC soiree. Some generals and admirals were bantering about this with interserval. Sorry. Some generals and admirals were bantering about inter-service rivalry. At one point, a general said, I can't see the end of that. I think you guys will like Smedley Butler, though. This is an interesting cat if you don't know about him. Let's see. I need to get a coffee sponsor, right? I got a couple I've been thinking about. You guys have any like coffee brands that you really like? Black Rifle. There's Blackout Coffee now. I'd like to try that. But if I get a sponsorship from a coffee company, you'll never hear me talk about any other coffee company again. Let's see. The admiral. Okay, so the admiral in this argument, according to Clock Cutter, said, "Sir, the Marines are a branch of the Navy." Smedley Butler said, "No, sir, the Marines are a branch of the U.S. Banana Company." And that's what we're going to talk about. All right, perfect. So Smedley Butler, if you are not familiar, actually, you know what? Before we jump into this, I like posting these little chats here. Do you know? Have you ever heard of Smedley Butler? Start a poll. I'd be relatively surprised if several of you, I wouldn't be surprised if many of you have. I would put it that way. It's the perfect junction of history and conspiracy. And I know that's what you guys are. You guys like that. I like that. So let's do it. Let's jump into it. Smedley Butler. I got my notes here somewhere. There we go. He's born in 1881 into a influential political family in Pennsylvania. So he's not from the bottom class. He's not, he's from a military family. His father was U.S. Congressman on the House of Naval Affairs Committee. He grew up he'd come up with a military service in the family. They're very patriotic. So it does lead him to join the U.S. Marines. And he is all in, as almost all of them are at this time. There's no real notion yet of, I say that, but there's the popular notion that we have today of a government being able to betray its citizens is not as, hasn't permeated as far into American society yet. So he spends the next, let me see, 1892 till World War I, at least for the next 25 years, in the United States Marine Corps. He served in the Philippines from 1899 to 1902, which was a gnarly bunch of action. That's when they're basically having to police the islands from rebel forces that are, they're rebelling against the government, and the United States Marines come in to kind of act as a police force. It's not an official war, I believe. It's part of the Spanish American War, but kind of a satellite action. He's part of the Boxer Rebellion in China, another wildly overlooked conflict that I would like to do. We'll talk about doing an episode on that later. Um, Wildly overlooked, not terribly long, but super intense, super violent. He earned the first of two medals of honor there during the Boxer Rebellion. And then from there, it's on to a slew of deployments in Haiti, in Nicaragua, in Honduras, in Mexico. Was that me? Sorry, guys. In Mexico, in Panama, in Cuba. And all of this, he's starting to get more and more curious about the validity of the reasons that they're being given behind these deployments. But he's all in. Like, he is known as the Marines Marine. He's known as being tough, as being fearless. He is, the poster boy for what the Marines want, and he serves with distinction. He rises up the NCO chain. He does not serve on the front lines of World War One, and he repeatedly asks to. Like, he is like, you got to let this dog off the chain. I need to get in the front lines. He really believes that he can make a difference there, and I mean, he probably would. He believes with his experience he could save lives. So I don't think he was wrong on that, but he's just getting to the age where it seemed not the best move for him. He's doing mostly administrative stuff throughout the war. He witnesses lots of younger guys come back disabled, and this was one of the first national wars that people were going overseas for and then coming back just completely disabled in ways that really hadn't been heard of before. Their lungs are wrecked from gas. Their psyches are wrecked from shell shock. It was just a war that had a cost, obviously, with the Civil War, from the Revolutionary War, War of 1812. Everyone's aware that men can come home maimed, they can come home injured physically, mentally, spiritually. But World War One was just a brand new box of horrors for the American public. And so Smedley Butler as well starts seeing the cost and weighing that against the benefits, and starts to kind of take a more philosophical, pragmatic look at what's going on, and kind of figures out that a lot of these deployments, going to Haiti, going to Panama, going to the Philippines, going to Cuba, were at the behest of fruit companies, were at the behest of bankers, were at the behest of mining companies. It was all about securing this land so that you could use the resources on it. And he starts to surmise on his own. This is his opinion, that this is all. He writes a book later that war is a racket, and that really sums up his view on everything. But this is kind of a gradual descent for him. So after World War One, his disillusionment is growing, but it takes another 12 years, 14 years, really, 1918 and 1932, for the Veterans March on Washington, which was at the very beginning, not the beginning, a couple of years into the Great Depression. And all these veterans wanted to collect their pensions at once, basically. And President Hoover is saying, like, we don't have the money, we don't have the scratch, we can't do that. And they're saying, like, listen, we went to World War One. Many of them were disabled. We can't support ourselves in this country. So give us our money, give us our pensions. And Hoover says, we can't have all these guys. And this was like, Hoover made a lot of moves that were just like, bro, like, of all the things, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong in that. Correct me if we have a Hoover fan in here. But he tells Eisenhower, MacArthur, and Patton, who are not generals yet at where they would be in World War II, he tells them, get these guys off the street. So they send out troops, armed troops, and get the veterans off the streets at gunpoint. And that was where Butler was just like, no, I've had enough of this. If you're gonna drive my boys off the street and you're not gonna give them recompense for what they've done for you, because they've made especially by his estimation at this time, they've made many people very, very, very wealthy, and they have been completely deserved themselves. So he writes a book called, let's see, War is a Racket in 1935. The cornerstone arguments are war exists to enrich corporations, not to protect citizens, that soldiers fight and lose their lives for industrialist profit. And he called himself, regrettably, like he said this tongue in cheek and as a mm, literary device, let's say, to sum up his position, he called himself a gangster for capitalism. He said, I helped make Honduras, quote, right for the American fruit companies. And he says something else with the word that rhymes with grape in it. And I'm going to skip that line if it's cool with you guys. He criticizes the arms industry, the banking cartels. He criticizes war profiteers. He criticizes the government's manipulation of propaganda and patriotism, which was really, especially the Spanish-American War and World War I, they were hitting new levels of getting guys to enlist and avoid the draft. And even if they didn't enlist, they were probably going to get drafted. So it was a rough time. Let's see. And then I thought this was really good though. I thought he didn't just have gripes. He had a set of solutions, which we'll talk about here. He said that soldiers themselves should collectively vote on whether to go to war. He said that there should be a strict draft of industries and capital to finance a war. So it's not just drafting humans, you're going to draft resources as well. And he said that there should be transparency in all war profits, which we'll talk about that, see if there's any takers on that. I'm not propagating any of this stuff. I'm just telling you guys what he said. All right. Let's see. Am I missing anything else? And before he died, just before World War II, he died in 1940. So I guess thankfully for him, he never had to see World War II. But yeah, it's interesting, an interesting turn, right? If there ever was one for really one of the most decorated Marines of all time, having 2 medals of honor is inconceivable. That you're still walking around is insane. To have one and still be walking around is absolutely insane. So to have 2 means that you survived and did things in the service of this country that I really don't think, even from our perspective as civilians, that you can really understand. He's done some wild stuff, and he is saying, regrettably, that he thinks, it wasn't for the ends that he did it. He believed it to be for. Not saying that happens as a blanket statement, right? But it's an interesting topic to delve into. So let's see. I'm going to check the chat here. It makes me look at the chat in a weird way. There we go. I have to drop it down. Let's see. Have you ever heard of Smedley Butler? 58% of you says yes. Doesn't surprise me. So what do you guys think? Pro Smedley? Anti Smedley? Terry R with a $10 super chat. Thank you very much. Shameful to have our troops remove our troops. Sure. Yeah. I mean, I try to stay as balanced and impartial as I can. And I know I got a lot of sarcasm and winks here, but really I try to. And they were, I mean, it was a bad look for Hoover. Nothing like this had happened before. I don't know. I think those guys, when the generals, Patton, who else did I say? Eisenhower, went on to do good things for our country. But yeah, not the best move. Hoover just did things where you're just like, bro, that's just of all things. If I gave you 4 options, you're picking the worst one here. The Hoovervilles, like they named them Hoovervilles, the essentially 1930s homeless camps. Because everyone didn't. I haven't heard anybody be like an ardent fan of Hoover. I'd say that. Not getting political. I'm just saying I haven't heard anybody. He's like the I don't know. I'm trying to think of a team. I haven't heard anybody be a rabid Panthers fan. Maybe because I'm not in North Carolina, but I've never seen anybody be a rabid Panthers fan. Correct me if I'm wrong. All right, I'm gonna look at the chat here. Sir the Marine. Okay, got that. 100% Brazilian medium roast, home ground, French press. I'm a light guy, but yeah, Brazilian medium roast is good. I like cowboy coffee too, where you boil it up. It sounds like it's not going to work, but it's good. Pet Detective says, I have not heard of S. Butler. He is, I mean, a super interesting, super intelligent guy. So it's worth a read. Nartek says, "Yes, you're doing well, big dog. Good stuff motivates me." Right on, man. Right on. Let's see. Sorry to say, I haven't heard of Butler. Yeah, if you, he's he's kind of a red pillar of the early 1900s. Sand Pebbles looks at El Progressive says, I'm looking at Smedley's book right now. Highly recommend. 51. Yeah, it's really short, right? 51 pages and written in 1935. Easy to read. And Smedley Butler was a great Marine. Thanks, Major General Smedley Butler. I didn't mean to, every time I try to memorize their rank, I didn't mean to leave out his rank, but every time I memorize it, I get it wrong. So I just forgot this time, but no disrespect there. Read his book 20 years ago. It was a banned book. Was it really? Mysterious Oklahoma? Is it like banned in the Marine Corps? I'm just curious. Like, is it like a no book? We ain't paying for more banana. Nartak says, we ain't paying more for bananas in those days. We Americans love cheap bananas. The audacity Central and Latin American governments had to try to get over on us Americans. I'm guessing that's sarcasm, right? It is. It is. It's wild. Yeah. This stuff, we were fighting wars over bananas, literally for the Dole Fruit Company. Add in contractors. Woohoo. The game never ends. That's right. You guys know about the Blackwater incident in, where was that? In Iraq somewhere. What did I miss? I just got back from the hotel. Oh, we just covered Smedley Butler. You'll like it. Go back when this is over or whatever. Like, go back and check it out, man. It was an interesting, just a short little dive, but it was a dive nonetheless. Didn't they set up Hooverville, shantytowns just outside DC? Yeah, I think it was a term at the time for any kind of homeless encampment across the country. That's as far as I understand. It was like that was what you called it. That was a way. It was a dig at Hoover. War benefits the wealthy, corporations, banks, etc. Mysterious Oklahoma. It seems, like I said, I try to stay in the middle of the line here, but you know what I mean? It's hard to say no to that. One of the greats his men loved. Yeah, his guys loved him. His guys, and it wasn't like this guy who had been in administration and now he comes in and throws a hissy fit. This dude had actually done all this stuff and not just won the awards. All his guys swore by him. Like that means they would literally trust him with their lives. So an impressive guy. Good Kovefia says, a pillar of the red pill community, if you will. When I said that, I was like, I think this sounds like that word. He's a red pillar. Yeah. I always like to hear stories about the wars that started America into a superpower and the Banana Republic Wars. Even those were fought for the dumbest reasons. Yeah, I mean, I'd have to ask what you guys think. When was the last legitimate war we got into? That's an interesting question, huh? Julie Nelson with $10. We need more people like Butler to stand up for vets and call out the bureaucrats. It would help. It would help. And a lot of people don't even know that Smedley Butler existed. So, and I think it really helps that he wrote a short book. It gets the point across pretty quickly. So, if nothing else from this podcast, take that you should go read War is a Racket. All right. Scanning the chat. Any other Marines in here? One is fixing to start, Nartak said. Yeah. I don't know. Hopefully not. Well, I think his reputation is like kind of what makes this. It's a shame that he had to go through all that, but that kind of makes his reputation and solidifies the veracity of what he's saying. Because it's like, well, like I said, it's not some guy that read about these wars. He actually went here and he's pissed off. He thinks he fought him for nothing. Let's see. Air Force bomber said acid hunt. What do you mean by that, acid hunt? I'm not disagreeing. Just wondering what you mean. Has anybody else read War is a Racket? And not trying to get too controversial, just saying, when do you think the last war what was the last war we had that wasn't a racket? Somebody let me know. Throw something out there. It's a tough question, but you guys can do it. Avian acid chunt. You mean avionics acid chunt? That's a dangerous name for me to say here. Yeah, I just thought I don't know, maybe Smedley Butler is like America's OG conspiracy theorist. Am I wrong on that? Very much like I don't know, like Sean Ryan kind of does some of that today. several other guys that are veterans that aren't super happy with some of the wars we've been in. So he's kind of the OG of those guys. And it's also, to me, just being on the outside looking in, it's wild that he said all this stuff and made all these arguments and wrote this book and is still, I've never talked to a Marine that didn't love Smedley Butler. So he's got the creds. All right. Am I missing anything in the chat? Am I missing anything about Smedley Butler as well? Any Marines in the chat that am I forgetting something? Like I've said before, I'm not an expert. I'm a civilian on the spectrum who's read a lot of books. That's it. Let's see. Pet Detective says maybe Korea, not totally declared war, but a big fight. Yeah, police action, right? I could see that. I could see that. You're trying to stop the North from completely taking over, which may have been a good thing if you see the North today. Nartek says all war is a racket. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could. I'd have to think about answering that myself. It's an interesting question to kick around. And it's meant with all due respect because we only want to be in wars that we have to be. But don't get me wrong either. I'm not a hippie. Like sometimes you have to be. Oh, acetone. Okay, I get what you're saying. I did Air Force OAS, offensive avionics, B1B, 6 years. Wow. So you've been in the thick of it. I know it's a little different from your job, but I just did a special operations in the Old West episode. I talked about the Air Force a good little bit. You think I wouldn't be able to squeeze that in talking about the Old West, but I did. And I did it quite skillfully too, I think. Let's see. Got a lot of people saying another war is fixing to start. You guys are the eternal optimists. I really appreciate that. All right. If I'm not missing anything else, we're going to go on to the saga that I've been enduring in my own life on behalf of you guys. I don't think Nick Sweeney's in the chat tonight, but usually he's here. Oh, I got another chat. Okay. Pet the Texas with $5. Any plans on Alvin York in the future? Yeah, I think I talked about this last stream. I want to do an episode on him because a lot of people don't know about him, which is a shame. He's one of America's, most decorated, most legendary soldiers. So I think, I'd like to get an episode on him in. And I did a paper on him while I was in college at Arizona State University. Never been there. But the teacher did not know who he was. She'd never heard of him. So it was like, you know what I mean? That's a little like if you're a World War II teacher, you should know about Audie Murphy or on and on, right? And she didn't know him at all. So I kind of thought like, why are you teaching here? I said, what do you think about these B-52s being updated? I trained on those planes in Italy in 2002. Are they being updated? I didn't know that. I grew up next to an Air Force base. I mean, like a couple miles away from an Air Force base, and we'd see the B-52s fly all day and night. They fly right over because, it's a couple miles. They're just kind of taking off or landing. They're the coolest. I always thought they were really cool, though. They upgraded the heck out of them. But they're a good aircraft, right? Don't fix what's not broke. Would that apply here? Because you know what I mean? If it works, why fix it? You can update it. My teacher didn't know who York was. Nope. She had no idea. Which, you know what I mean? It's like being a Civil War teacher, and I never heard of Custer. Let's see. A lot of the profs I had known. A lot of the leftist professors I had knew Smedley Butler well, read his book. Yeah, he spans both sides. Like that's kind of why I talked about him because I was like, well, no matter where you fall on the political spectrum, you're gonna like Smedley Butler. Hard to disagree with. How could you not know Audie Murphy? I'm not saying that this particular teacher didn't, but it's the same thing, right? Alvin York, and I think it's a fair comparison to say that's the Audie Murphy of World War One. B-52 was a Masterdome. Yep, it's just like top 5 American aircraft of all time, in my opinion. Has she heard of Eddie Murphy? She better have. Maybe Charlie Murphy. Space Cowboy, what's up, man? Good to see you. You're late to the party, but it's fashionably late. Seems like 61%. I'm proud of you guys. 61% of you have heard of Smedley Butler. Can't be a good conspiracy theorist if you don't know Smedley Butler. Nartak says, I got to go back and watch, but you the man, love the content. Yeah, thanks, man. Come on back anytime. If you want to get in the chat, just jump back ahead. Space Cowboy with a salute. Thank you, sir. Good to see you. I've been wondering where you were. All right. B-24, pretty sick too. Yeah, absolutely. I'd say B-17 is up there. The F-15, the P-51. I think the P-37 Lightning that's maybe my favorite. And I got to toss one more in there. Phantom or the F-4 or the F-14. I don't know. One of those two. Let's see. You've drawn in Jarheads with your Marines in the Old West video. Great. Come on in, man. I have a lot of friends in the military. They're veterans or currently in the military. I think the most of them are Marines. I wrestled in high school, and the Marines were at every tournament. They were always at every tournament. They had a pull-up contest going, and they like wrestlers for good reason. Let's see. I like the Superman Spitfire. Isn't that British though? Maybe I'm wrong about that. Let's see. Space Cowboy, that's a good aircraft. Yeah, the propeller dogfighters are the P-51s are, and they look super cool, right? The P-37 Lightning doesn't look as cool until you look at it for a while and you're like, that's pretty dope. That's pretty cool. Yeah, Space Cowboy. The Spitfires had Rolls-Royce engines, right? I think all British fighter planes did. And yes, it's hard to argue. They're just super classy looking. Just all class. Let's see. I'm grilling out right now. My chats will be minimal esta noche. No problem, man. Enjoy. Grill out. We're here for you. So enjoy. Where are you at again, Space Cowboy? You got the weather to grill out? Half the country's getting stormed on. They told us it was going to be stormy in Austin, but weathermen in Texas don't know anything. Let's see. Acid Hunt said, yeah, it's a big Cadillac hood in the front. Yeah, there was just something to those World War II aircraft where they just look so classy. And I think the Korean War had some really cool, like the Sabre. I think they're overlooked. They got some cool aircraft too. Didn't Ted Williams fly a Sabre? Terry R with a $5 super chat. Marines recruiting wrestlers. Go figure. Yeah, go figure. It's just dipping your hand into the honey pot. Like you're not going to be disappointed. Really, like most of my friends, I think the service that most of them have joined has been the Marines for sure. And all of them are tough people. Clock cutter, I was a high school wrestler too. Well, glad to hear it, man. It's the greatest sport on earth, man. It's tough. It's a tough sport. All right. Any other aircraft talk? I like aircraft talk. What's your guys'? You got a favorite number one aircraft? It can be from any era. I'm cool with it. Any other Smedley Butler comments, questions? Any other comments or questions about Chapultepec Castle also? Oh, yeah, Space Cowboy. You've told me Nevada. I say Nevada. That's right? In California, we say Nevada. Let's see. Arizona Boy says, no kidding. I left Storms back home to get chased to Colorado by them and then get chased back home. Oh, man. That's the worst. Colorado's got some stormy weather sometimes too. It's just a crazy weekend. It's a crazy, crazy week or so of weather. The Texas is always crazy. You just gotta wait 5 minutes if you don't like the weather. All right. Well, keep throwing your aircraft in there. And then I got some interesting news for you guys on the Dubai Cupcake front. We talked about this last stream. I believe that's what I was talking about, Nick Sweeney. I believe it was Nick Sweeney who donated several dollars. No, it wasn't Nick Sweeney. That's right. Gosh, it was. I'm going to go back and look so I can properly thank them. I can't pull it up right now. But anyways, we got some donations to go buy some Sam's Club Dubai chocolate cupcakes. And I wanted to properly use that. I went and looked at these said cupcakes. I don't think they're up to our standards. So I'm going to go make them myself. We're going to buy some of the filling. You got to like buy the pistachio filling with the little stuff in it. Then I'm going to make chocolate cupcakes from scratch, make the frosting from scratch. I've never done any of this, but it looks good. Gonna make it. We'll bring them on air. We'll eat that. The sawdust pie, no problem, guys. We got that. Easy peasy. It looks really good. But the Dubai, it's gonna take a little working, but it's worth it. It's worth it for my audience. It's worth it for our community here. And I'm excited to bring them on. And I'll give you the recipe when I'm done. Hopefully, you guys might want to try it yourself. It looks really good. All right, I specialize. Acid Hunt says I specialized in B1s, but that was it. I trained in B52s in Shepherd, but the B1 was awesome. Yeah, that's on the Mount Rushmore. My picks were just my picks, but if we have to have an objective Mount Rushmore of American aircraft, B1's up there. I have a stack of Air Classic magazines, Space Cowboy says, from the 1970s. I'm going to read through them tonight. I'm just an aircraft head. I used to build models all the time as a kid. Oh, the A-10 Warthog. Oh, how that slipped my mind. We got to put the A-10 Warthog up there. That thing can do anything. I have the vague idea that Butler was accused of being a communist at some point. I think I've heard something along those lines, and I think that it was a pre-McCarthy hearing thing. Like it was I think that was a way to discredit him. I don't think there's any validity to that. No evidence that I've ever seen. Let's see. Not that McCarthy was wrong about everything. Let's see. Let's see. Always make your frosting from scratch. Pre-made frosting is vile. Yeah, dude. I'm a semi-health nut, like an 8 on the 10, 8 out of 10 health nut. And so whatever, you know what I mean? I'll have a little bit of this and that every once in a while. But this stuff, it was just like artificial flavoring on all these cupcakes. So I was like, dude, everything else I'll work with you, but it's artificial flavoring. Then what's the point? What are we even doing here? I'm gonna have Robbie Jr. on my ass, Is it a space peanut? Is it a space peanut? I don't know. We called it a pig, though. It was always breaking red balls off the chain. I got lost in this chat, guys. Texas the whole time. Oh, man. Are we using code words in here? I'm lost in the chat. Arizona Boy says, I love how the community came together on pastries and it's turned into a cooking channel. It's not a cooking channel, and it'd more specifically be a baking channel. Thank you very much. But I'm telling you, I just have this confidence, this thing. I was born with it that I can do this, and I've never done it before. I have no business even attempting it, but I feel like it's something I can do. So we're going to try it. I feel like they'll be really good. I've never had, you guys, have anybody ever had the Dubai chocolate in here? I haven't, but it just looks good. Acid Hunt says Space Peanut was from Joe Dirt. Oh, I know what you're talking about now. Okay. Yeah, I don't know if that movie's underrated, but man, it's never not funny. Let's see. That's a classic movie. It was supposed to be kind of a joke. It was a throwaway movie when it came out, and it's lasted generations. I made homemade frosting, Space Cowboy says, and my wife compared the difference. She told me never to ever buy pre-made frosting ever again. My mom makes amazing Texas sheet cakes, and she makes all the frosting homemade, makes everything homemade. But it's like a thick fudge on top of the cake, and it's amazing. I have no use for store-bought frosting. Though my dad would just get frosting. He is a runner, so He would just buy frosting and eat it with a spoon, like German chocolate frosting, and just get like a tablespoon and just eat it and just put it back in the fridge. And it was like, that's dad's frosting. Don't eat that. But he would really do that. So they're on opposite ends of the spectrum there. Terry R says super chat to help out with your pie and cupcake splurge. Thank you very much. I don't thank you sir, for the $20. That's amazing, by the way. First of all, that's great. Thank you so much. And but I don't look at it as a splurge. This is work. Uh this is for you guys, right? I'm the one eating it. I get it. I'm the one savoring how amazing and delicious it is. I get it. I'm the one that gets to have all the fun of consuming it. I get it. But it's for all of us. It's for all of us. And in like a holidays way, not a commie way. I'll email the recipe for my mom's cake. Email it over. Email it over, dog. You know how to get a hold of me, Arizona boy. Costco has Dubai chocolate products on display a lot. Gonna have to try something. I would trust Costco. Sam's Club, it was just like low rent, you know. Oh, that's my phone doing that. I have it on the whatever. I don't know where the phone's at right now. Hold on, let me unplug that speaker. Bingo, bango, easy peasy. Yeah, but Costco, I could see Dubai chocolate from there being good. Call in Cowboy Kent for cooking. One of my best friends, his dad lives in Rio Doso, and they had really a bad, I think it was wildfires or flooding not long ago. And Cowboy Kent doesn't live too far from there. And he came up and cooked for their whole church, just like out of pocket. So he's like a legitimate American hero, not just his amazing recipes and a legitimate cowboy, an American hero. Let's see. You can't beat the mullet, says Acid Hunt. You really can't. I'm glad it's made a comeback. What's Dubai chocolate again? It's pistachio with this stuff called, I might be getting this wrong, kanefa, I think. It's like a noodle thing, and they fry that up and they make it crispy, and then they mix it with the pistachio cream, and you put that inside chocolate, or in our case, cupcakes, and then you eat that. And it's supposed to be really good. So we'll see. I can't imagine it's bad. Pastry equals work. I mean, it depends on who you're asking, right? I might not be a professional. In this particular case, if we get one super chat for the cupcakes during that live stream, I would technically be a professional pastry chef, I think. You can trust Costco, said Acid Hunt. I feel like you can. I'll trust Costco. Cowboy Kent is awesome, says Space Cowboy. One time, Cowboy Kent and Townsend's did a show together. They did. I'll have to go check that out. My wife was cracking up because I was nerding out. Two of my favorite dudes together. Yeah, those are OGs. Townsend as well. Just a gold standard for for history YouTubers. That guy he does it all. He's like Secretariat. He runs at a pace that you can't keep up with. You just think, well, he's going to get tired. He's going to slow down. He's like, no, I'm just getting warmed up. Do we have any actual pastry chefs in here that can give me any pointers? Because I'm jumping into the deep end here. And I'm not using any bananas because I don't want to cause any coups. Jazz Townsend has a great catalog and a great channel. Yeah, the guy's got a whole other, he actually sells the history he's talking about. And I can't really do that in my case. I'd have to like sell some pretty macabre stuff, I think. Let's see. I'm scanning, guys, trying to get to everybody. Thank you again, Terry R. That was really generous of you. And I'll be honest, like it's kind of necessary because that pistachio filling it ain't cheap. The price of beef has gone up, and I'm guessing the price of pistachio filling has gone up. Acid Hunt says, I got to go, but I'm going to subscribe. Oh, thanks, man. Thank you so much. Come on back anytime. Great to have you as a subscriber. We're going to keep stacking benefits up for subscribers too. So you guys won't be disappointed. And thank you for your service as well. I love aircraft talk. Like I've been super into it since I was a kid. You guys ever watch Wings? I think it was. There was another sitcom called Wings, but Wings on the Discovery Channel. Good show. Good show. Looking for pastry tips. Looking for Smedley Butler talk. Chapultepec Castle talk. And let me know how you guys, I've been thinking about this too. How do you guys want me to list the live stream topics? Because I got a lot that I want to talk about. Like tonight, Want to talk about Marines. Want to talk about Smedley Butler. Wanted to talk about Dubai cupcakes. So should I just put that all in the title, or do you guys want me to leave it as like one subject? What's more appealing to you as the viewer? I'm asking a lot of questions, but that's the only way you get answers. So, the Dubai cupcakes. You might think to yourself, are you going to make them from scratch, or are you going to make them from like a good box mix? I don't know, but I feel like you guys probably want me to make them from scratch. So, I'm going to do that. I'm not going to make the filling from scratch because I don't know how to fry these noodles. There's like a 0% chance that I'm going to do it right. And then the chocolate frosting, I'm making it from scratch. I don't really know what a ganache is for all intents and purposes, but I feel like I can make it and it does look good. Let's see. 3 topics in the title fit across my big PC screen nicely. I don't know that. Yeah, and that feels like something I'm more likely to watch. It just sounds more interesting to me. But sometimes people just want to know the one big thing we're going to talk about. Single subject, and then wherever it leads, says pet detectives. All right, so we're 50-50 on that topic. Whether therefore ye eat or drink or whatever you do all for the glory of God. 1 Corinthians 10:31. Couldn't agree more, Space Cowboy. I'm not always the best at that, but I'll be making these cupcakes for the glory of God. They may not be the best, but they'll be my best effort. I'll say that. Then I was thinking, well, look, the sawdust cake, the sawdust pie, not a problem. I feel like we got that down. You just throw all this stuff in there, and I think it's going to be really good. Then I'm trying to think of like where to go from there. I'd like to do something for Thanksgiving. I don't know. I don't think I can do a pumpkin pie. I don't feel like I have that skill level. What do y'all think? Try a pumpkin pie? Pecan pie? I just look, it's like a way. Yes. Is this a way for me to slip in my taste for desserts? Yes, it is. Okay. But I also like Max Miller a lot, and he has a good time making historic recipes. I'm trying to find. I saw a historic recipe for a pecan pie that doesn't use any syrup, and it's kind of like a fudge, like a pecan fudge. That looked really good. I'd be down to try that, but that's going to be our next round. Hell yeah, another Arizona person, Sanjibar. Oh yeah, we got a couple Arizona people in here. And what are you guys up to on a Saturday night? Bama Deanna, what's up? You're perfect. You are just on time for the subject we're going into. I am making Dubai chocolate cupcakes myself. So, do you have any suggestions on what I should do? Pet the Texas says Max Miller has a great show. Yeah, highly recommend Max Miller. Great historian, super entertaining, and a great chef, great cook. And I don't know, like I'll watch some of that and I'm like, I think I could do that. So why not lump it into the show? I just need the link so I can tag the notification so I don't miss it when I get in from work. It should come up on the channel. If you can't find it, let me know. Even if you can't, if you need to email me. Let's see. Bam and Deanna says, not that. I got to try. I got to try them. Anyone remember Justin Wilson, the Cajun cook? I do not. I like Cajun food a lot, though. Austin's not so far from Louisiana that you can't find good Cajun food. You probably have to get with Ma if you're going to make a pumpkin pie. Probably. My great grandma made probably the best pumpkin pie there is. Which state do I live in? Texas, where pecan pie is a way of life. Though I don't like putting whipped cream on it. If you want to have a side of ice cream, that's fine. But it screws with the texture. You're adding this cold element to it. It's just, I don't understand. Do you guys put whipped cream on yours? I loved Justin Wilson's cooking shows. Pam Deanna says, really? He's got to be on YouTube. I'll check him out. Pet Detective says, yes, Justin Wilson. Okay, guys, I've never heard of this. Justin Wilson was a total character, I guarantee. I don't remember this. I remember Yan Can Cook, but I don't remember Justin Wilson. Ken Fox says, I thought you lived in Texas. Thank you. Oh, sorry, guys. My phone's killing me tonight. Oh, there it is. It's a Saturday. I had a lot going on. Let's see. Amen. Julie Nelson says no whipped cream. It's degenerate. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit. I'm usually for like less regulations, but I feel like I'd be fine with the law against that. Just add a little wine, Bama Deanna, to the pecan pie, or like with it. Let's see. Justin Wilson was a cool total character. We got that. I'm cool, guys. I guess I could have it with pumpkin pie. I just always feel like it detracts. I don't see a lot of need for whipped cream. We have vanilla ice cream. Whipped cream is it's just airy. There's nothing there. I don't get it. I didn't even realize what this channel was. I've spent hours and hours listening to this channel. First time live though. I've been listening to this channel for months. Yeah, the live stream just kind of started recently because I just couldn't fit so much really good information, cool information into the episodes. So just thought it'd be a nice addendum or precursor. Oh, Justin Wilson says just add a little wine, Bama Deanna. Gotcha. Nothing wrong if you want to have a little wine with the pecan pie, though. Oh man, everybody watched him in the early 80s. Okay, I guess I wasn't around till the mid 80s. But yeah, okay. Maybe a pecan pie will be in our future. My mom makes a good pecan pie. Homemade whipping cream is much better than store-bought. I'm not against it, Julie Nelson. I'm not against it. I guess I'm kind of against it, but I'm not a staunch opponent. I agree with your theory on whipped cream, says Space Cowboy. Thank you. I think it's sound. Whipped cream sounds like a Yankee thing, says Doc Will. It is a little, yeah, but it's Julie Nelson, and Julie is right that it's homemade and store-bought are different things. Let's see. Sanjibar, we're going to haul off and cook some crawdads. I like crawdads. Some people call them mud bugs. They don't like them. But springtime here, especially, they have crawdad bakes. What do you call them? Crawdad boils all over the place, and I like them. You can make butter by using heavy whipping cream, says Bamadiana. Yeah, can't you just like even put it in a mason jar and just shake it? I don't think I have the attention span for that, but it looks good. And these days, it's like, I feel like I just make my own everything because you look at it and you're just like, Lil Robbie's right, man. That's what I call RFK. No offense. I just feel like it's a cool nickname. Let's see. Yes, add a little salt to the butter. Yeah. The logistics was and still is a big hurdle. The world is bigger than people think. So it takes a ton of time to train and fly and boat stuff across the globe. Yeah, logistics is a fascinating thing, regardless of industry. Really, it's fascinating the nuts and bolts of how they move these things. Because even in 2025, I think we picture all of transport being kind of magical. Like we have drones, we have planes, it can just be overnighted anywhere. It's like, no, basically stuff still has to be taken by boat and train, and it's still on the ground or through the sea process. It's not as sophisticated as we think yet, or not as simple as we think, certainly. I hope someone is writing down what Bama Deanna says. Straight baking, sweets knowledge. Yeah, it's the perfect episode to have you on. Do you have any ganache tips? I got to make ganache. No, I don't really know how to do that. I barely know what it is, to be honest. I'm excited to eat it because I saw the pictures of it. I'm positive, 100% positive I'll like it. Yeah, if we got any more, we have another chance. Bemadiana says, I have 53 years of baking experience. Well, if you have any ganache experience, hit me with it. Middle class, lower middle class, and excuse me, but lower income. I don't know. And old Sanjabar says, oh, you have a friend in Lufkin, Texas. His wife makes pecans on a regular basis. We were just talking, I did a live stream 2 or 3 days ago on the butterfly effect of history, little things that can happen that completely change the course of history. And pecans, in a lot of ways, changed Texas history, if not American history, because they were a central gathering point for tribes and then a central gathering point for settlers during the fall. Particularly, you can go down to the Guadalupe River today in Seguin, and you'll see dozens of people out on a weekend in the parks, Starkey Park, beautiful park in Seguin, and they're picking up pecans by the dozens, bucketfuls of them, and you can take them and sell them. You can eat them yourself. But that's what's been happening for centuries and centuries and centuries there. And the Lockhart family, the four Lockhart children had gone out picking pecans one day. Matilda Lockhart and her brother had been kidnapped by a Comanche raiding party in the area and taken away. And when they were returned, when Matilda Lockhart was returned, and she was taken back, but she was apparently terribly abused. She was taken back to San Antonio for a prisoner exchange, and that resulted in the council house fight, a blood-soaked, I don't know if I can say that, a terrible street fight all throughout San Antonio between the Texans and the Comanche. And that was a tipping point in the kind of point of no return for relations between the Texans and the Comanches. And it really was a tipping point for Texas history, all because some kids went to pick pecans. Little rant of mine, but it's true. Bamadiana says, I don't even know what ganache is. Okay, well, that makes me feel good because you're an experienced baker, and I'm on. At least I don't. At least I'm not expected to know what ganache is, but it looks good. Google it, and it looks tasty. Awesome stream, bud. Chocolate chips and heavy whipping cream. All right, I would eat that. Okay, I like the little chocolate chips best. I feel like I could fit more of them, in a bite. That's why we're trying. That's why we're being divided. Acid Hunt says, "Hey, we are." Which is why Smedley Butler is a good topic, because who doesn't agree with what he's saying? Amateurs talk about tactics, but professionals study logistics. General Robert H. Barrow, USMC. How true is that? Whatever industry you're in, it's absolutely true. I think about that with the Rolling Stones. Like, yeah, that's nice. You could put on a whole concert, but you can't do that without setting up a stage, without having people set it up and hauling everything. Or your local McDonald's can't cook breakfast if they don't have somebody bringing the sausage, and then who makes the sausage? I don't want to know that. But on and on and on, and that's the same for the orange juice and everything. So there's a lot going on behind every product that we purchase, and it has to be brought to us and old school ways that I think we don't really understand today, or we don't appreciate today. I forgot my buddy's ancestor was in the Battle of San Jacinto, Sanjibar says. That's another tipping point, and maybe a seminal tipping point in that war. Really secured victory for the Texans. And it's just kind of in an open field. The battlefield is, you go to all these places and you're just like, wow, it happened right here. And it's a rather innocuous looking place. My wife kept looking at me like, just stop. Let's see. It's funny because on this trip to funeral, my stepmom and dad kept asking me all sorts of questions about whatever historical marker we'd pass on the interstate. My wife kept looking at me like, just stop, says Arizona boy. Well, at least you have the ammunition if you need to engage in those topics. Let's see. Pet Detective says, we used to pick up pecans to pay for our cover charge at the dance hall. That's the most Texan pastime I've ever heard. And it still happens. It's like, it's one of those things that's never changed. The backbone of America should be so strong, it's ridiculous. I served with some good soldiers. It's a true melting pot. It is, yeah. And that's a unique thing in our country. It was never the regular folk having. I'm not sure what that means. Okay, Space Cowboy. I love listening to VDH talk about the logistics of World War II. He's an expert. Victor Davis Hanson is a perfect guy to break down logistics. Very measured, very knowledgeable, very detail oriented. Every book he has is just like you could defend your home with it. Oh, my Sanjar says, my buddy is a McCulloch. His ancestor was Benjamin McCulloch. I'm going to go visit his grave in the state cemetery. Not too long. It's on 7th Street and kind of the east side of downtown Austin. So not far. I've driven past it literally hundreds, if not thousands of times. So it's time to go see it. Smedley was the shorter guy, right? Yeah. Not the biggest guy, but doesn't need to be. You got to have that swag. You know what I'm saying? It's not about how tall you are. It's about how tall you feel, how tall you project. And I'm 5'10", so I'm trying to project 6 foot. It depends what gas station I'm walking out of. Let's see. Buchanan says chocolate chips, semi-sweet chocolate milk, semi-sweet chocolate chips mixed with heavy whipping cream on low heat. Oh, you're saying that's the recipe for ganache. Okay, well, I could do that. I looked at the recipe and it was just 2 ingredients, and I was like, I could do this. Nick Sweeney, what's up, bro? I was going to charge you a tardy tax, but I guess I'll waive it this one time. We were talking about you earlier, trying to figure out who put down the down payment for the Dubai chocolate cupcakes. And good news, buddy, I'm making them myself. Long story short, since you're tardy, we'll have to sum everything up and we'll let you go back and review later. Let's just not let it happen again. Thank you. Let's see. Okay, who is Benjamin McCulloch? It says Pet Detectives. Famous Texas Ranger. Uh, how else could I sum that up? Oh, Ben and Henry McCulloch. He had a brother named Henry McCulloch. I forget if he's a twin brother. Henry's grave is in Seguin, and I visited that. And Ben's grave, and he was a Confederate general who was KIA. I believe it was a Confederate general, a high-ranking officer who was KIA at a battle whose name escapes me right now, but during the Civil War. He was brought back and eventually interred at the state cemetery here. His brother was a longtime resident of Seguin and was eventually buried there. Longtime businessman, resident, Texas Ranger himself. So a fascinating, super important guy in Texas history. Let's see. Elite Super Grunt, you made it, bro. What's up? Did you hear our Smedley Butler talk? I'm positive you know who Smedley Butler is. In Marine Corps boot camp, we are taught Marine Corps history. Oh, that brings me, I think of a great question from that. Are y'all taught about anything? I know you won't spend all day on it, but are you taught anything about Smedley Butler in Marine Corps boot camp? Space Cowboy says, are you a Buc-ee's fan? I'm a devout Buc-ee's devotee, I guess. They got everything, man. It's as advertised. It is so big. There are so many gas pumps. And then you go inside, it's every beer you've ever heard of. It's every kind of fudge you've ever heard of, every kind of jerky, all these t-shirts and gifts. And it's just amazing. And they got a full barbecue thing. It's amazing. It is Texas encapsulated inside of a building. Let's see. Is there still an Army base in San Antonio? I believe so. I don't know if that's... there's the Army hospital. I have a friend who was in the Navy who was stationed there. But no, there was Army there as well. Let's see. I think World War II was the last legitimate war. That's a solid argument. Even considering Korea was a police action. So a legitimate argument. I might make the same argument. I have to think about that. My buddy's lineage goes back to the time of the Revolutionary War. Huge McCulloch sailed here from Scotland back around the time of the Revolution. Yeah. And then Bigfoot Wallace also had a Scottish lineage. Another big guy. Some of these guys were like big dudes, like 6'3", 6'4", which is massive, especially in the 1830s. Let's see. I just got it. Oh, I'm missing some stuff here. If I'm missing something, like I've said, if I'm missing something and you really want me to get to it, like $1 super chat or whatever, it makes it pop up super big. And thank you again to all of our super chatters from earlier. It goes to finance our Cupcake habit, which goes right back into the show, obviously. A Cupcake habit isn't cheap. Nancy Reagan never talked about cupcakes, and she should have. Elite Super Grunt says, we are taught what he did. During the Crucible, there are courses named after the Marines that have received the Medal of Honor. Sure, okay. I don't remember what he did. It's been over a decade since I was in the Corps. Well, we talked about having he had 2 Medals of Honor and how that's just, I mean, what an amazing Marine he was. And then how he had his perspective drastically changed, especially when they had the Soldiers March on Washington. I read it earlier, but I think it's 1932. And Hoover, a wildly unpopular president already, ordered Eisenhower, Patton, and one other, famous general from World War II, to drive the veterans off the streets of DC at gunpoint. That was Butler's last straw. He then wrote War is a Racket and was ardently a proponent of the idea that corporations, banks, you know, financiers, weapons companies were the not primary but only beneficiaries from the American war machine, let's say. Nick Sweeney says, I was deeply disappointed by the live a couple nights ago. It was my own fault. I misread. I didn't realize it was about the horrors. It was all about the horrors of San Diego. I was thinking it was something else. You're looking for the word that starts with a W, and I'm sorry to let you down. And maybe we can do another live stream on that. I lived there for a while. I feel like I can speak to that. Let's see. Pet Detectives, $2 super chat. Thank you very much. Thank you. That pops right out. I can see that. Thank you. You are the reason we can do this, Pet Detectives. Acidic hunt, not acid hunt. You almost got me in trouble there. Sanjibar. That's a tricky name to say. Sanjibar. That's something to be proud of. I'm 8th generation American. I'm always fascinated by how so many people in the chat and in the comments are so well versed on their lineage. I'm not. I'm really not particularly. I know a little bit about my mom's side, but my dad's side has had the name changed so many times because of cattle thievery that I'm not real sure about the history. I know we stole some cows. I know that. Not nothing, right? How many cows have you stolen? Let's see. Now I know. Terrible name. Thanks. No, it's a great name. It's just you have to be very careful in your enunciation when you say it. Elite Super Grunt says, welcome, Acidic Hunt 7379. Sanjibar says, heritage is everything. Yeah, especially in America. We have a unique and rather recent history. So it's an interesting thing to see how your family played a role in shaping it. Bamidiana with the $5 super chat. Cupcake fun. Thank you so much from the master of the cupcakes. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. And you're the one that I'm a little nervous about debuting my initial foray into baking in front of, but I feel like I can make you proud. I think it was right before you jumped on. I was just saying, I have a feeling that I can make Dubai chocolate cupcakes maybe because I want them so badly, but I feel like I can do it. And maybe you missed this part, but I am going to just get the filling. I'm just going to buy that out of a jar. So, cut a guy a break. But other than that, it's all going to be from scratch, and I feel like it's all going to be good. Let's see. They were supposed to retire those years ago. They just added the electronic tech, and now it's a monster again. I am not sure. I'm kind of losing. I love your channel, says Acidic Hunt. Thank you very much. Oh, it's your first time at a live. Oh, thanks so much, man. We do these several times a week now. I'm trying to make them almost nightly. And that might be, I'm trying to figure out things that we can do for members. So I might do a special members only live stream 3 times a week. Maybe we'll figure that out. But I think that'd be a cool thing to do too. Cause we have the same crowd coming and it's a nice little community we built here. So that'd be fun. And thank you again, everyone, for coming. It's always fun to hang out with you guys. Let's see. Clock Cutter says, my aunt does genealogy and won't stop talking about it. I know quite a bit about my paternal line. More than you want to know? That could happen. My great uncle stole the cow and buried it. He was drunk and it happened in the 70s. Hey, man, you got to do what you got to do, right? That's during the Ford administration. That's tough times, right? That's what I've heard. We actually, when I was growing up, grew up on a ranch out in Central California, and there's a cow that just fell over, and that was it, right? I don't even know what happened to her, but she blowed it up for a week, and then we put railroad ties and I think gasoline and all kinds of stuff on top of her. She's passed away, right? So relax. And burned it for, I don't know, 12 hours. I think it was my aunt's birthday. I'm serious. It was like my aunt's birthday party. And it burned and burned and burned and burned for days. And then it stunk for literally years. You couldn't even walk out there. It just stunk so bad. So We're good at stealing them, but not good at disposing of them. Let's see. You can do it completely from scratch. I have faith in you with the Dubai cupcakes. I thank you so much. That means the world coming from you, Bama Deanna. Acid says you can't sleep on the C-130s. Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked to a veteran that doesn't appreciate the C-130s. It seems like they do some heavy lifting. Yeah, they do work. Yeah. Clock cutter. I also do genealogy. It's fascinating to me, says Bama Deanna. Yeah, I mean, that's a crucial part in history. It's why we're able to put so much of this together. And as y'all probably know, record keeping sucked until like the 1990s, like around the 1940s. But even in the 1940s, they had lots of kids that just were 15, 16 and snuck into the service. And like your great great grandparents, it's a miracle that they even have their place of birth. Everyone's just kind of has like different names. It's all very vague descriptions. There's no photos of anybody till very recently in history. So it's all just like, oh, I think this is Jim B, born in Houston, Texas, around 1899. And you're just like, we have cars now that we have almost, we're 5 years away from flight, and this is the best record keeping we have. Caught the live, says Watchman on the wall. What's up, dude? Is this your first one? I feel like I've seen you before. Well, welcome back if it's not your first one. Glad to have everybody here. It's a Saturday night, man. Nothing beats this. Let's see. I rode my buddy's cow last week. That was pretty fun. You got to be careful, though. They can get squirrely on you. They can get squirrely in a hurry. And there's not like a front end on a cow. When I was a kid, we used to ride Holsteins, and there's just nothing there. So you just like go over the front. I do digitizing for the National Archives. Do you really, Ben Mediana? What does that entail? What is that? I don't even really know what that means. Let's see. C-135. So let's see. More aircraft talk. Oh, Space Cowboy. I missed this. My sister does the genealogy for our family. Went way back to my grandma's side, not related to anyone noteworthy. Well, they're related to Space Cowboy. So how about that? But I think she was on the Mayflower. Now I have to ask her. Oh, she was going to go back to the Mayflower. I don't know, man. I don't want it. I don't know if I want family. I don't mean to offend anybody, but like the Mayflower people were like a little intense. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather have some family that was like a little more chill and came over here later. Acid says the A-10. Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier. The A-10 has to be on America's Mount Rushmore of aircrafts, right? Like everyone loves it. It can do everything. It's been in service for 40 years-ish, somewhere in there. At least 35. It was in the Gulf War. Arizona says, I used to bull ride back in the day. Oh, you'll be fine then. You got a head that's 2 feet thick. Everybody, like, back to my grandpa. My grandpa was a pro bull rider. My dad was a pro bull rider. I am obviously not a pro bull rider. It's one of those, like, if you're not really good at it, don't do it. But I know lots of bull riders, and you guys are all insane. Let's see. Handsome fellows, but insane. Elite Super Grunt says ultra Protestant. I don't know what that means. Let's see. Got more A-10 fans in there. You can't sleep on the V-22 Osprey. That's a good point. It can do some unique. That can go. It has the rotors, right? It can go up. Is that right? I was a fan of the F-22. I had the F-22 like elaborate computer game with a joystick in like 6th grade, and I spent days researching all the munitions. It was like intense, and I don't know. It just never was that. I was always like, this could be an F-15, and I'd be just as happy. It's got kind of a cool look, but not that cool. Let's see. Bamadiana says, digitalizing for the archives is a volunteer position. I just read over different records. I read over different records and put them in a digital format. The hardest part is reading the handwriting. Yeah, I bet on the original records. Well, God bless you, because I'm sure you know this because this is why you're doing it. It makes genealogy so much easier. It makes history research so much easier, so much more accessible. And you're one of the unsung heroes, because really, just coming from my job here, it's so much easier when the records are easily and digitally accessible like that. It makes all the difference in the world, because especially with history you want to get things right, and that's part of respecting the story. So it can take hours to find one little detail. So you doing that, it's incredibly important for people in my position, and I think for our whole country, because it lets people know where they come from. So thank you for that. Last war that wasn't. This is from Nartek. The last war that wasn't Iraq. It was fought for independence against the British Empire. Dog, I wouldn't argue on that either. I know we're trying to stay. I wouldn't argue World War II, and I wouldn't argue what you said about the Revolutionary War. I know that puts me in a. There's a big middle ground there. Okay, but I mean it. I can understand both those points of view. Oh, Elite Super Grunt says the Mayflower had ultra Protestants aboard. Exactly. And like nothing, I got most of my family are Protestants. Nothing bad about that. But they were a little intense, right? Yeah, they were just not a lot of fun. I don't think. No booze, no nothing. Just come on. Come on, bros. Let's see. I'm sure some palms got greased during the war. Yeah. There's no war where palms don't get greased. My aunt, Clock Cutter says, my aunt traced my direct paternal line to the great granddaughter of Samuel Fuller of the Mayflower. I mean, it's cool, dude. I was very disappointed to find that none of my direct ancestors fought in the Revolutionary War. Well, I mean, there was a significant amount of people that either stayed out of it or were loyalists for understandable. I'm not a loyalist, but for understandable reasons. Like they were like, this is nuts. What, you can't just rebel against the preeminent military power in the world. And they thought like, well, we probably should chip in. The colonies were costing a pretty penny to King George. Don't get me wrong. I'm glad it worked out the way it worked out. I'm just, helping you see it from all angles. $2 super chat, Pet Detective. Salute to Bama Deanna. Absolutely. And salute to you, Pet Detectives. Thank you very much. Even the small ones make a huge difference. So thank you. Anyone ever listened to 10 hours of B? Yeah, I've seen that. Has anyone ever listened to 10 hours of B-17 engine noise for sleep? I have not, but I've seen those videos posted. Bama Deanna says, I'm in the process of joining the Daughters of the Revolution. Very cool. Very important organization. Let's see. Nick Sweeney says, our Puritans weren't too pure to enjoy their beer and Applejack. Did they have beer and Applejack? I'm not super clear on the Puritans. Other than like, they were just intense. Okay. That's a good adjective. They're intense. It's a little much for my Irish Catholic heritage. Like, you know what I mean? It's a little, a little restrictive. It's hard to find information on my family after the 1820s until the 1900s, as far as biographies are concerned, says Arizona Boy. It's a tough time from that. There's not a lot of great record keeping. Anything west of the Mississippi, not a lot of great records from that time. Clock Cutter says, my aunt found a direct connection and became a member of the Daughters of the Revolution some time back. Yeah, it's an important organization. Like I was saying about the digitalization of the catalogs of the records that Bama Deanna is doing. If they aren't around, a lot of history gets lost. And if that doesn't sound like a big deal to you, like, well, eventually your story could get lost, and that would suck, right? Those drinks probably had the same amount of alcohol as communion wine. Yeah, if they had booze, it was pretty low ABV, right? Let's see. Space Cowboy, my grandpa told me one time that when he came home from the war, some guy said to him that he wished the war could have gone on for a few more years because it was very good for his business. And I think that's why one of Smedley Butler's propositions about drafting not just people but resources would make a huge impact, because guys like this guy you're talking about would have been basically forced to produce for free, and that changes things a good little bit. Let's see. We have a lot of fans of Applejack cereal, which I get. Quality cereal, honestly. Let's see. It made your grandpa really bitter that the guy said that. I'm sure. Imagine hearing that when you just came back. Devil's advocate about the Revolutionary War being a racket. Let's see. Well, bro, what do you got? the British weren't letting colonists settle newly won Ohio lands from the French. And I know a lot of wealthy colonists were surveying land. They absolutely were. That's a very good take. That is talked about in our Daniel Boone at Boonesboro episode. The that was happening even just right before the very early iterations of the Revolutionary War. The Britons were after the Ohio Territory. It was a huge deal, and they had just taken them. They just got them from the French, right? And a lot of wealthy colonists were surveying that land, and not the wealthiest. It was like the next step down because a lot of the land on the farthest to the east was taken. Let's see. Anyone ever eat cereal with half and half or heavy whipping cream instead of milk? Heaven, especially chocolate soup. That is, boy, that's an American thing to say. That is heavy duty, man. That's like I said, that is a very American way of doing things. Like we're maxing it out all the way. I like that. I'm going to try that. Like with Cocoa Pebbles, something like that. Cocoa Puffs. That's what's coming to mind with chocolate cereal. Back then, Ohio was considered the frontier. Bamadiana says, absolutely. And it absolutely was the frontier. And it took decades to get past that. Super dense wilderness, super formidable tribes, the Shawnee, I believe the Cherokee, right? And then just the mosquitoes were supposed to be a terrible thing. They would give people malaria, and you would get malaria shakes. And it was like a trimmer that people from Ohio were just well known for having. Let's see. Where do we go here? I'm a little lost here in the chat. Nothing new with that. Yeah, can you imagine having a trimmer, a statewide trimmer now? I don't think we have any equivalent to that these days. HOKC, you covered the Irish Catholics that defected to the U.S. Oh, I should have talked about that. HOKC, you covered the Irish Catholics that defected from the U.S. military and joined their fellow Catholics in Mexico. Yeah, that's the Battle of Chapultepec. They changed size before the battle, but they played a huge role and fought like madmen because they knew if they got captured by the American forces, they were going to be executed. What happened was they were Irish immigrants that had joined the army, which was super common. It was a way for them to get a job right away, but they were Catholic. So that's a very odd thing. That's why Irish immigration was frowned upon, and Italian immigration, because essentially they're thinking, well, this person isn't loyal to the country. They're loyal to the Pope and the Vatican. Not crazy, not completely wrong. But they really did not jive culturally with their fellow Americans who were Protestant. That caused a lot of conflict. It doesn't sound as a big deal today, but then it was a huge thing. And eventually, down on the Rio Grande, a bunch of the Irish soldiers, deserted and went to the Mexican side and with their fellow Catholics. And they served for a good long while and served with distinction. They were known as the San Patricios, the St. Patrick's. And several of them, if not all of them, were captured. Not all of them were executed, but the ringleaders certainly were. And they are kind of part of Mexican folklore today as well, because they got after it. They knew if they were captured, it wasn't going to go well for them. So they fought viciously as well. Some dangerous extremists emerging from the chat, says Nick Sweeney. Maybe. I don't think we have extremists, but we have interesting people. I would say that we have watch lists candidates. Put it that way. Great channel. Oh, a $5 super chat from XC797. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Thank you. I like the history of the Southwest. Great channel. Thank you so much. We got more Southwest stuff coming with the Apache episodes. What more do we have? I'm going to do one on Bill Williams, the famous mountain man, and how they think he might have met his end. Interesting story. Super famous, kind of an enigmatic guy. And there's a theory, and they may have found him, but we don't really know. So that'll be, I think, an interesting episode. Thank you again. Let's see. Acid says, I watched that episode too. Yeah, that's the Battle of Chapultepec Castle. Yeah, that was another one. There's a lot going on there. It's hard to keep it straight. So I thought, let's dive into that a little deeper and go back and watch it again. Excuse me. Too much coffee, guys. It's a recurring problem. But go back, watch it again. It's a good episode. Let's see. They were hugged at the end. Elite Super Grunt. I'm not sure what you mean by that. My grandmother served me that as a kid. I'm not sure. Usually I'm bagging what you're mowing, Elite Super Grunt, but I'm not sure what that one means. Chili bowl in the freezer for about 10. Oh, chill your cereal bowl in the freezer for about 10 minutes first with the cereal in it. Man, you are taking this as 4D chess. And then ice your cream. Then strain the cream so you don't get ice cubes in your cereal. Man, that is a very in-depth approach. But I know that's going to work. I've never done that, but you can tell that's an absolutely sound process. Okay, let me go through that one more time for you guys. Everybody can try this at home. So Space Cowboy wants you to chill your bowl in the freezer with the cereal in it for 10 minutes, little timer on the iPhone. Then keep the cereal in it and add ice to your cream that you're going to be using. Then you want to strain that cream so you don't get ice cream in it and it separates the cream, I'm guessing. Then you will top that. Then you will put that in the cereal and then top said cereal with Hershey's syrup. Man, that is something else. Now, see, something like that may have made World War II worth fighting for. If we didn't win World War II, that probably wouldn't be possible, right? So, was it for nothing? I don't know. Let's see. Oops. Arizona boy, no, but I've had to brush my teeth with hand soap for mouthing off to my grandma. I've done that. Yeah, and I deserved it. Elite Super Grunt says my country is named San Patricio, and you mean county, and has a lot of Irish descent. Irish people are unusually good looking, and charismatic and intelligent. They don't have very many faults. Let's see. That's a lot of work for cereal, says Bama Deanna. I know it is, but I mean, anything good takes a substantial amount of effort, right? Acid says, I'm in Arizona, baby, newly divorced. I do my own darn thing. Well, congratulations on all of it, man. Hopefully it's on to better things. And glad to have you here. You're having a good time. I'm going to have to try that. Yeah, watch Man on the Wall. I'm going to have to try that too. Space Cowboy says, sorry, I'm not sighing. I'm trying to picture this in my head. Chocolate cereal. Any kind of chocolate cereal works. The generic Cocoa Pebbles are actually better than the name brand. That's been my experience too. And I think that's a top tier cereal. I really liked Abilene and Wichita, Kansas. I've always heard that Dodge City, Kansas was a wild place back in the day, but funny because it's not very Western. It's on the cattle trail is the thing. So it's the end point really of the cattle trail. So it's where cowboys would kind of have fun, and that's why it got so crazy, because you have a bunch of dudes. It's like an oil boom town. A bunch of dudes getting off work. Now they finally want to have fun and party. So that turns into a wild situation. So it was bloody Dodge. There's a saloon in every Wild West city known as the Bloody Bucket or the Bucket of Blood. So that was a famous Dodge City place. Let's see. Acid, you were only in San Antonio for basic. So I know there's a base there. I just don't know what service runs it. We have a Cinnamon Toast Crunch fan. That's another solid choice. Honey Bunches of Oats with almonds. Man, these are solid choices. We have similar tastes here. I don't like fruit cereals. Never like Trix. No, I don't. That's not there's nothing wrong with it, but it's not my bag. I scream cowabunga every morning, noon and night because I'm radical. Could be extreme to some. Well, just don't cause a public disturbance. You should be good. Honey Bunches of Oats, another Honey Bunches of Oats fan. Your dad was in San Antonio when he joined the Army, says Bamadiana. 1961. Oh, that's a wild time to join the Army. Tricks are for kids, says Nartak. Yeah, which if kids like them, that's fine. Arizona Boy says whole milk only. Absolutely. No plant milks here. If you like plant milk, that's fine. I know it's a very ancient thing. Almond milk, nut milks have been around for centuries. I get it, but it doesn't mean they taste good to me. Oh, Bama Deanna says he was drafted. Okay, well, sorry. Still a wild time to be drafted. Have y'all ever watched the Vietnam draft on TV? It's a wild thing to watch. It is a wild thing to watch. And people from other countries are like, whoa, that's crazy. It's a chilling thing, I think, to watch it and see if your birthday comes up. Mine came up. So it's like, ooh. Milk chilled in a glass container hits different. It does. It's got to be whole milk. It just has to be. We didn't get this far as a country to drink skim milk, in my opinion. Got a lot of cereal takes here. Maybe like Cookie Crisp. It's like one of those I thought it in theory sounds really good, and I just never liked it. I don't hate it, but it's not my favorite. Armenian Bishop, what's up, man? Grass-fed milk, whole or 2%. Yeah, that's cool. I'll go 2%'s okay. It's a good middle ground. He got drafted 3 weeks after him and my mom got married, says Bama Deanna. That's tough. The draft sucks. Terry R, $5 super chat. Pop-Tarts are well-known substitutes for cereals. Honestly, that's a valid take. They are kind of a substitute for cereals, right? $5 super chat, though. Thank you so much. Thank you very much. That's enough for a box and a half of Pop-Tarts. And I am a ardent brown sugar cinnamon Pop-Tart fan. S'mores. I do not like strawberry, frosted or unfrosted. I do not like blueberry, any of the mixed berries. I will do, trying to think. Oh, I will do chocolate. No problem. Let's see. What's your guys' favorite Pop-Tart? And if I had to pick, I would think I like toaster strudels more, but there's more of a process. And I don't always deal with this frosting my own pastry every time. It kind of annoys me. I've taken the toaster strudel straight out of the freezer and just eaten that. You know, I don't have all day. I was a kid too, but I don't have all day. Toast something up. Some call him a space cowboy. I call him a dangerous extremist. You know whom I write about. Nick Sweeney, I think you were talking about Space Cowboy. Some call him the gangster of love. And some people call him Maurice because he speaks to the pompatus of love. Armenian Bishop says grape nut flakes. I would have to go regular grape nuts, but okay, I'm cool. That's cool. You got to microwave them and you put some brown sugar on top. It's a top-notch cereal. Elite Super Grunt says brown sugar. Yep. Cinnamon brown sugar Pop-Tarts. Yep. And I don't think it's slightly better toasted, but you don't even need to toast them. They're just top tier. Let's see. Because they'll go on and on about, oh, European food. And it's like, I get it. But you come over here and you have gas station coffee and a s'mores Pop-Tart. Like, you feel like a champion. You know you're going to win that day. You know, whatever war you're sent off to in the name of a banana company, you're going to win it because you are fueled. Let's see. Uncrustables are good when they're slightly frozen. Uncrustables were just past my point in growing up. So like I had kind of grown up already when they were around and I was already locked in on Pop-Tarts. Watchman says, I get mince pies for Christmas without meat though. It's a great dessert. Yeah, mince pies are good. People hate on them, especially in America, but they're good. Just straight. It's just how it is. I get low sugar granola at Costco. That's like the healthiest thing I've ever heard of. Never had an Uncrustable, says Elite Super Grunt. I don't think they sell them to Marines. I don't think that's allowed. They're too soft. You guys need hard food. By the way, I'm lactose intolerant, says Space Cowboy, but I still indulge in that concoction. You're lactose, you poor guy. You had this whole elaborate system set up for you. Clearly love cereal so much, and they take it away from you. I'm so sorry, Space Cowboy. Where do you get lactose-free milk? A2 milk, isn't that a thing? You can get A2 and you can drink that. It's a guilty pleasure like SpaghettiOs. My dad used to eat SpaghettiOs out of a can, man. Isn't that wild? They did that on Dennis the Menace. Remember that movie? And he eats out of the can with the homeless guy. And I was like, if this is supposed to be some kind of irregular practice, then I don't get the joke. I love mini pecan pies. Yep. Super elite grunt. Exactly. You're a man of wealth and taste. Because it's a pecan in a mini pecan pie, you're eating the same amount of pie eventually because you're going to eat like 4 or 5 of them, but it feels way better because you're like, it's a little mini pie. It's not even a big deal. Comanche and Texans were at war. I've spent years considering, but the truth is, gloves were off and they were both brutal to each other. Yeah, that's just the unfortunate reality of Texas at the time. I think a lot of the settlers here were kind of forced is a strong word, but they were kind of forced out from out east because there was no land that they could get. There was no land to farm. They couldn't afford it. They came here thinking it was a kind of golden age or golden land or a promised land of sorts. And they ran into the harshest warfare on the continent at that time, really. And the Comanche were trying to keep from losing their homelands that they had really relatively recently fought for and gained. So it's a unique conflict and a man, maybe the most brutal in American history to have happened on American soil. Not in terms of numbers, but in terms of intensity and sheer brutality. Yeah, it's up there. Let's see. Elite Super Grunt says, yeah, you eat one mini pecan pie. 30 seconds later, you eat another. You have a lot of manners if you can wait 30 seconds, man. I don't know about that. I get one down and I have one in this hand and this one's reaching. And then I get the other one in, but this one's reaching. So it's kind of a conveyor belt. It's a machine. Let's see. Arizona boys, they are good, but I'm too cheap to buy them. Bam, Deanna, what are we talking about here? I lost you in the Arizona boys. All that is peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You can make 20 for the price of one Uncrustable. Oh, okay. The economics of Uncrustables. The logistics of Uncrustables. See? Space Cowboy, I got to bounce. No problem, dog. Dinner's ready. Go enjoy. Good night, y'all. I'll be back. We'll be back tomorrow, so come hang out. Not to change the subject, but have you ever come across good reference to brain tanning buckskin? Any books you could point me to? I have. Maybe let me come over here to my little stack. Off the top of my head, this is what comes to mind. Indigenous Continent by Pekka Hämäläinen. It's the most in-depth, but it's not terribly long, study of tribal practices on the North American continent that I've read. I highly recommend it. Let me hold it up one more time. I want to kind of flash in front of you guys. Indigenous Continent, Pekka Hämäläinen. Fantastic author. He also does one called The Comanche, on specifically the Comanche. I believe he addresses it there too, because, as Buchanan says, if you don't know, the way that hides were tanned, and they're still tanned this way today, is they would rub the brains on the hide, and that tans and softens it. Well, it softens it. They would stake them out to be tanned, get all the hair off of it, scrape it all off, and then rub it down with the animal's brain. So if it's a deer, they rub it down with the deer brains. Buffalo, you rub it down with that. Usually women doing this too. Usually the women were responsible for butchering the animal, skinning, stuff like that. And they could do it really fast. Let's see. Elite Super Grunt says, bye, Space Cowboy. You're a real one, dog. Go enjoy your Saturday night. Let's see. Respect to you. Respect to you. Acid says. A lot of respect. Always a lot of respect in the chat. We hate to see Space Cowboy go, but we understand. Or you could use tannins. Space Elite Super Grunt says you could use tannins. Aren't tannins in the brain, though? Am I mistaken on that? I don't think they knew that. I think it's just like, well, this works, and so we do it. But yeah, it's absolutely a real thing. And then they would, to soften it up more, usually bite it just a little piece by piece. Bite the skin for hours and hours, but that would soften the buckskin. An animal has just enough brain matter to tan their hide. It is kind of interesting, right? Like it's kind of a built-in processing machine for itself. You can use eggs too. It does the same thing. Really, I did not know that. Nick Sweeney says zero tannins in brains. All right, cool. It was a question. It was a question. It was not a statement. I thought tannins came from plants. I do not know. I do not know. So I'm open on that one. I'm open. Hey, watch. Have you ever seen The Man That Came from Earth? I don't know what that is. The Man That Came from Earth. Not sure. Tannins also come from wood. Okay. What's up, Mojo? Did you just get here? Okay. So tannins, well, if that wood is a plant product too. So they're a plant based thing. Watch on the Wall says Wild West history is fascinating. Are there any other periods or places in history that you're interested in? I tend to love history in general. Yeah, the 20th century, World War One. I'm really, I love World War. I love the study of World War One. The medieval times. I really like. I'm into the Byzantine Empire right now. Um, Roman history, I think, is really interesting. I'm trying to think. Got to be one more. Let me think. Let me think. Maybe pre-Revolutionary War, the time of like Daniel Boone, because I think a lot of people don't. We know him as a figure. We know kind of about them, but the frontiersmen, the long hunters, were a wild bunch of dudes. Hemlock bark is a prime tannin source, says Nick Sweeney. Are you like a tanning expert, Nick Sweeney? Honest question. Like, I usually know a lot about this. Let's see. Bless ups, HOKC just stopped in, brother. Yeah, good to see you, man. Hope you're all having a solid weekend, says Mojo88. We are so far, just hanging out, dude. Hope you are too. Hope you're not getting washed out by rain. I got a thorn stuck in my hand, says Elite Super Grunt, and it left a tattoo made from the tannins. Huh. I didn't know this. That's why I was like, oh, we'll ask. I kind of figured somebody would know about tannins in the chat. Arizona boy says Bronze Age history is pretty sweet. Yeah. There's no history I'm just like totally averse to. Let's see. I really need to learn more Chinese history, kind of the eastern side of the world, really, because I don't know a ton about it. And I mean, it's wildly important to world history. Same here, HOKC. Recently been diving into Central and South America history dating back to the Spanish Empire. Great stuff. Have you seen the, what is it? The Uruguayan Civil War? It's Uruguay versus Paraguay. 90% of Uruguay's men were either unalived or wounded, I believe it is. Just a wild percentage of casualties. Just a charnel house of horrors down there. Let's see. 1915 Armenian genocide in World War One, but it's usually unnoticed. Absolutely. A really a fascinating rabbit hole I went down was Rasputin. Love him, hate him, whatever. Fascinating rabbit hole to go down because he's involved in everything up till his final end. But really, the unaliving of the royal family, the Russian royal family, may have changed 20th century history more than anything. That's up in the air. I don't even know that's my solid opinion, but I think that's a legitimate thing to posit. Let's see. An axe is better to drip under pressure, therefore an expert. Expert. All right. Nick Sweeney says an X is a has-been. A spurt is a drip under pressure. Therefore, an expert is a has-been drip under pressure. Let's see. Buchanan says, awesome. You're the man, bro. I'm a brain tanner. It's the fats and oils you push through the fibers of the skin. Okay. It's not tannins. It's fats and oils from the brain. And the brain is like all fats and oils, right? Bamadiana says, I have seen my husband tan deer hide before. Is it like a common thing in Alabama? I'm sure it's very common in Texas. I need to do some hunting myself, but I'm always like tied to this stuff, which is great. I love it here. Love it. But I know there's plenty of deer to be had out there. Let's see. Rasputin is a fascinating subject, says Bamadiana. Fascinating guy. I don't know whether he was good or evil. I don't know. I think he was one of the two, but yeah, a hell of a rabbit hole. and everything is crazier than the next thing. Everything that he did was just progress. You would think, well, that's the craziest thing in the world. It can't get crazier than this. And he would do something crazier. And he's kind of like a Captain Jack Sparrow character where like nothing sticks to him. He's all just kind of like wandering around, doing whatever. Let's see. And even the story of how they unalived him, they unalived him, but he was tough to take out. Like, I don't know if it's really true whether he was alive in the sack when they threw him in the river, but they shot him a bunch of times. They poisoned him. I don't know how much of this I can say on YouTube, but they, did their best over a number of hours and they couldn't take the guy out. So something's very strange about him. I feel like he's touched in some way. Yeah, okay. So Armenian bishop says Rasputin was misunderstood. He was there to heal Prince Alexei. I don't disagree with that. He was clearly eliciting some effect on Alexei, who was a hemophiliac, I believe. Is that right? So he would bruise super easily. He could have internal bleeding super easily. And several times, Rasputin was called upon by the princess to come help heal her son. And he miraculously, through some means, did it somehow. Like the child would always be okay. But there's a lot of talk. He may have sold out the royal family. A lot of talk about his involvement with other characters. So I don't know. I would honestly like to be pro Rasputin, but I've heard a lot of things. So I'm still sussing it out. Hell of an entertaining guy, though. Love him, hate him. I mean, come on, he's not boring. Such a tragic time in Russia. I feel the same about Rasputin. Not sure how I feel about him. Yeah, but an absolutely not the beginning of the tragic times. Like they were well into the tragic times, but the unaliving of the royal family. There was no coming back from that. That I think, like I said, it's got to be a top 5 moment in 20th century history. He was a weirdo, says Mama Deanna. Yeah, it's hard to argue that. Good, evil, he was a weirdo either way. Let's see. Acid, do you have some more here? You need dessert so bad, bro. I do, man. I do. I don't think I have anything here for dessert. I'll have to figure something out. I had a P. Terry's milkshake last night. If you don't know P. Terry's, they're kind of like the Austin In-N-Out. They're a solid chain. Great milkshake, great banana bread. And they have all the ingredients on it. Super good. I mean, if it slaps, okay, you don't have the ingredients on it. That's fine. I don't need the ingredients on it, but it was good. He was a weirdo. Got that. Okay. It's weird and gross. They put it's weird and gross. They put his thing in a jar. My friend showed me the picture once and it scared me. Is that legit though? I've heard that it is. I heard that it's not. I just try to avoid Googling anything like that. Mojo says, I went and visited my great uncle a couple years back in Muncie, Indiana. On the wall hung an old picture of a man with a mustache. My great uncle told me it was his great grandpa. They fled Russia because his brother stole a loaf of bread, so they chopped his arm off. I honestly don't doubt that. It just turned into, it was a mess before the royal family was taken out. There was a lot of animus against the royal family. Maybe kind of in like a French Revolution kind of way. They were blaming the royal family for everything. They had this kid who was likely not going to make it. It was just a mess. And really, the prince didn't know how to handle this. He didn't know what to do. I don't know if anybody would. They were getting probably millions of Russians by that time are getting unalived on a battlefield in a war for nothing. So it was a chaotic time in Russia. Stalin was a tragedy for Russia. Yeah, they all were tragedies for Russia. Lenin, Stalin, Khrushchev. I don't really know that much about Gorbachev. He was kind of all over the place when I was a kid in the 90s. He had a Pizza Hut commercial, right? Gorbachev was in a Pizza Hut commercial. Oh, Stalin was a Georgian. Yeah, that's right. He was. Stalin wasn't even Russian. He was a Georgian. Right? Yeah. Let's see. Georgia seems like a cool place to visit. I'd go visit Georgia. Looks like a dope place to visit. Good food. It was the Bolshevik Revolution. Yeah. I think a net negative for the world. Russian Orthodox Church canonized, yeah, Tsar Nick's family into sainthood. Yep. Yeah, absolutely. I'm Orthodox, and I've talked to several other people about Rasputin, and even in that context, there seems to be a lot of contention about him, whether he's good or bad. So that's an interesting thing. I'm gonna have to probably toss that around for a while. I may never come up with an opinion on that. Let's see, but I think we can all agree the Bolshevik Revolution not great. Let's see here. I'm scanning back through, and Russia always kind of gets the short end of the stick whenever we have a world war. Hopefully, we've had the last one. But the worst fighting in World War I and II was on the Eastern Front. I had some dried, Elite Super Grunt says, I had some dried goat skin with the fur on. I would cut strips and give it to my dogs as a treat. That sounds genius. I'm sure the dogs like it. I bet they did. That's like the uh, putting a cereal bowl in the freezer and using whole cream. It's like that, but a dog version. Acid says there is no front and there. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you mean by that. Go see Armenia. The people there are nicer than Georgians. Oh, Armenian bishop. So are Georgians not nice? I've watched some Georgian travel videos. Everybody seems nice. Is there some vitriol between Armenians and Georgians I don't know about? Very well could be. Please hit the like for HOKC. Yeah, everybody, please hit the like. That helps get the stream out there. So if you can, it's on the top of the screen there. I think we got 26 likes so far. We got to bump that up. Those are rookie numbers. Yeah, if you hit the like, share the stream, it really helps the algorithm. So much appreciated. The Battle of Stalingrad, yeah, it was underrated during the war. Maybe I'd put that. The Somme is probably the one I'd least like to be in. Maybe Passchendaele, Flanders, any of those in World War I, and then Stalingrad. It literally doesn't get worse. That's just horrific, and just went on and on and on. Terry R says Stalingrad was an absolute battle of attrition. Yeah, it's hard to even make a movie about that. What was it? The Sniper War movie with Jude Law. They did a good job, but even that, it's hard to convey the horrors of it. Like people were running out of food, eating each other. The women, children were fighting, being shot. It just went on. There was on and on and on. Terrible, terrible, terrible. D-Day was pretty bad too. Absolutely. We talked about the Rangers and Point du Hoc 2 live streams ago. Point du Hoc was horrific. Just a terrible, terrible task to have. Let's see. In downtown Austin, I forget the commanding officers. I believe he was a captain during the Battle of Point du Hoc, but he was a Ranger officer. There's a building in downtown Austin named after him. They have a plaque explaining his involvement in Point du Hoc, and like a lot of people, hardly anybody sees it. But I didn't know it was there, and I read it, and I was like, "Whoa, this guy's seen some stuff." What's up, Space Cowboy? You coming back? Know what Jeopardy ought to be doing? Jeopardy ought to be having every single category about American history. We should start our own game show and have it all based on America's glorious history. I'd be down if we could put that together somehow. I grew up watching Jeopardy, man. It has kind of fallen off. Let's see. Battle of the Bulge would be bad, and Iwo Jima, Tarawa. Yeah. Any of those would be. If you haven't read Flags of Our Fathers, I think it's one of the first history books I read. It's just horrible. And they're all kids in all of these battles. They're all 18, 20, 22. Was it Michael? Oh, I feel bad about forgetting his name. But one of the guys that helped raise the flag over Iwo Jima was an NCO, well, he was considered an old man because he was 26. And all the other Marines on Iwo Jima referred to him as an old man. And it's like, that tells you something. I think the Civil War battles were probably worse than any of them. Valid take, valid. And it was literally all Americans getting killed the entire time. Germans took 600,000 Soviet prisoners at Kiev. It's hard, I think, for us to understand how bad the German-Soviet conflict was. Let's see. Elite Super Grunt. Enemy at the Gates, man. Thank you. That's what it was. That's a great movie. I think they did a good job of portraying the battle and telling it through the lens of a sniper. Because the whole city was snipers. It's just a hellscape. Mojo says, my grandfather served in World War II in Germany, said he'd rather do 8 years in Germany than 4 years in Japan. And I've heard similar takes before. There's an interesting video. You'd have to just look it up. I forget what channel it is. A sizable channel did a video on the different experiences of Pacific theater and European theater soldiers, and how when they came back, there was a disconnect. Like a guy who had been in the Pacific couldn't relate a lot to a guy who had been in the European theater, and vice versa. Not that one is better or worse. It was just wildly different experiences. Okay, chat's blowing up. Give me a second here. Homeschool kids would destroy public schools in a game show. Oh, homeschool kids would destroy public school kids in a game show about American history. Yeah, they'd probably win. I worked in the workplace with many World War II veterans during the 70s and early 80s. Yeah, I grew up in the 90s. Some people's grandpas were still around who had served. And by now, I don't know. We have some left, but not many living World War II veterans, sadly. My dad was a World War II Navy veteran. Let's see. Armenian Bishop says, oh, very cool. Very cool. My doggies rip and tear Yodis apart as they dry along. Yodi high curl and just. Nick Sweeney, you're saying the dogs rip the Yodis apart, rip the coyotes apart. A favorite toy to bring on walks or show the mailman. Oh, Nick Sweeney says you cut strips of the coyote hide. Good. There's way too many of them. My brother-in-law and my uncle were just out coyote hunting, and they got 6 of them, I think. So let's see. I went to Point to Hawk. Surrender Monkey. Hey, what's up, man? I went to Point to Hawk for the 65th D-Day anniversary. It was a once-in-a-lifetime experience, as most veterans that we met didn't make the 70th. Oh, so they weren't around 5 years later. And they trained for that in England, Surrender Monkey. You probably know this, but on the cliffs of Dover, something like that. But they trained to climb the cliffs in England. They didn't really even know what they were going to do. They were just told, like, you're going to be climbing nets. And they're like, oh, okay. I'll have to leave in about 5 minutes, Armenian Bishop says. No problem, man. Got more house cleaning to do. I should probably get on that too. I mean, mine's just we're slacking a little here, but it's fine. Wasn't one of the men to help raise the flag a Pima Indian? Yes, Isa Hayes. Johnny Cash has a song about him. Tragic end. He ended up, he was a celebrity, and then the celebrity kind of got to him, and I'm sure some PTSD, and then drinking got to him, and they found him in a ditch somewhere on the reservation. He passed away. Tragic story. Great Johnny Cash song, though. I meant that Russians do have courage. Sorry, I only meant that I don't understand the invasion in Ukraine. I don't think a lot of us do. House cleaning to do for Thanksgiving guests. Oh, very good. Very good. If we don't, I'm sure we'll see you before Thanksgiving, Armenian Bishop. But if we don't, have a wonderful Thanksgiving. I mean, Space Cowboys talking to Bama Deanna, but let's see here. I think the Civil War made military leaders around the world realize they need to change military doctrine. If it didn't, probably the Japanese Russo War, I think is how you say it, was a precursor to World War I, and kind of the first time you saw that level of fighting. I think the Civil War was a initial iteration of them re-examining how warfare was going to have to be fought, because now we have the Gatling gun. We have, eventually they would get chemical warfare. So this Napoleonic lens through which warfare was viewed had to be, almost reversed. None of their tactics were going to work against modern weaponry. And as aircraft and larger artillery started to come into play, I think World War I is when that was it. Nothing was going to be the same after that. Pet Detectives, $5 super chat. Thanks for the education and entertainment. I have to hit the hay. No problem, Pet Detectives. Thanks for coming by. Thank you so much for the super chat. The show runs on those, so we really appreciate it. And have a good night. Get some rest. They used a few primitive Gatling guns in World War II. Yeah. And then there was the Maxim gun that the British were using against the Zulu. And from there on out, I believe the Crimea War, et cetera, et cetera. But their adage, it's catchy, but whatever happens, we have got the Maxim gun and they have not. And it's like pretty catchy and kind of true. There wasn't any real defense that a lot of forces could marshal against that. Space Cowboy, that makes sense. Napoleon's style fighting was not suitable for the terrain here. No, it wasn't. You just couldn't. There weren't open battlefields. You couldn't amass troops and then put them in these formations and then mass fire. You were just going to get mowed down. And they tried. They tried all the way through 1916, maybe past that. The French lost as many people. We lost 600,000 troops in this U.S. Civil War. And that's large. I mean, that's because everyone who was KIA was an American. So, take that into account. But that's a lot of people to lose in 4 years. And the French lost that many people in the first month of World War I. That is incomprehensible, right? Like that is just, you hear the number and your mind just isn't going to wrap itself around that. But that is like the entire city of Fresno, being wiped out just in a month. And like that's a lot of people. It's a lot of people. It's unthinkable. The Civil War had been thought unthinkable. Those were unthinkable losses to those people at the time. And that had been, it would be exponentiated from there on out. And we lost more people in total in World War II. And presumably World War III wouldn't be awesome. Julie Nelson says, I guess Pet Detectives and I are old. We are the old ones in the chat. I got to get to bed too. Good night, everyone. Thanks for the great time, HOKC. Thank you, Julie Nelson. Thanks for stopping by. Great to see you. If anyone needs their sleep, feel free to check out. We never take it personal. It's just good to hang out with everybody. Reference Pickett's charge. Oh, Pickett's charge was a defining point. Yeah, Pickett's charge where George Pickett tried to marshal his forces and run them uphill. And believe it or not, it didn't work. It's tough for me to stomach those officers' decisions because they are rooted in nothing more than ego. It doesn't take a whole post-war study to say this tactic of massing troops against heavy firepower in entrenched positions isn't going to work. It was solely because Pickett was allegiant to this antiquated notion of warfare as an honorable pursuit. A lot of people, Mojo88 says, a lot of people were unallied because of general lack of hygiene and knowledge in medicine. Yeah, more people than were unalived in battle in almost every war in history until recently. The biggest problem, to be honest. Yes, by far, absolutely. And the defining factor in the war against the tribes, I guess we could say, because that it was disease, unalived, vastly, exponentially more people than the war actually did. Smallpox was, again, it's an apocalyptic event in American history. Hard for us to wrap our minds around, but if you think the big C was bad, smallpox, if you can imagine it taking out up to 90% of your people. So you got 10 guys, 9 of them are victims to smallpox. No questions asked. That's, again, hard to quantify in your own mind these days. Oh, got to scroll down the chats. Let's see. It is really weird to me how much conflict arises between Spain, Portugal, Ireland, and Ireland immigrants coming into the States, Christians and Catholics. It seems odd to me that they wore their government on the teachings of God first. It is odd that they're all Catholics. But like the Irish, we're not the best at getting along with people sometimes. A good show would be about the role of the Native American tribes played during the Civil War. You know what, Space Cowboy? That is a good idea. If nothing else, I'll do a live stream on that because they played a huge part. The Seminole fought on the side of the Confederacy. There's whole regiments of Native troops and foreign troops, Turkish troops, German troops. Let's see, the flu epidemic in 1918, 19 on to maybe 1921. Millions of people, millions and millions of people. I used to ask people about that during the Big C in 2020, and nobody knew that it even happened. It's like, man, if you think this is bad, that was millions and millions and millions of people worldwide just after you'd just gone through World War One. So many guys made it through World War One just to get taken out by the flu. Like, how bad? That sucks, dude. That sucks. Let's see. Mojo says, interesting that also they said Ottoman Empire sent food ships to Ireland during the potato famine. I've heard that recently. Yeah, Ireland, that's they have a strong, now like I'm not saying anything here, right? But like they have a strong tie to Palestine. It's been generations long. Oh yeah, you said that right there. There you go. Mojo, you know, which is cool with me. Yeah, that's anybody, the Irish don't forget people that help or people that hurt them, right? But yeah, they were in horrific straits, largely because of, in my opinion, Oliver Cromwell. There was plenty of potatoes there. They were just shipping them away. Just a disgusting act. There were Native Americans that sent money to. Yeah, there were Native Americans who sent money to Ireland during the potato famine. It was a worldwide. People were sitting there just going like, how can this be happening? This is disgusting. Starving people, starving men, women, and children. Interesting question about Irish potato famine is, why didn't the Irish build fishing boats? I've looked into a lot of these. The fishing wasn't great. Like, it was hard to amass. It took money to get a boat and go fish on it. I think the English had restrictions on that as well. It was very restricted on what you could eat. And like I said, they were being forced to export the vast majority of their potato crops and a lot of other stuff. I've looked this up before, but a lot of their other options were either inedible or very hard to procure. Yeah, okay, Mojo, the English Navy set restrictions, yeah. They just had them squeezed from all angles. They had them squeezed from all angles. They weren't letting food in, or what they did let in wasn't getting to the people. Like, nothing new under the sun. I said, are you mixing Latinos with Spanish colonization? I'm not sure what you mean. I mean, yeah, I agree, but I'm not sure what you mean. Well, I guess I am sure what you mean, but I'm not sure where that's getting directed, Elite Super Grunt. But yeah, you got a point. Let's see. We got the Navy restrictions. But yeah, not to belabor the point, but the potato famine was terrible. Ever heard? That's why I'm here. My family was like, we're out of here. The world's population census went backwards from 1918 to 1920 due to the World War I and Spanish flu. I haven't seen that statistic, but it wouldn't surprise me because that's maybe the largest loss of life the world's ever seen. I don't know, but certainly up there. In fact, very well, maybe the largest largest loss of life the world had ever seen. Because a world war and then the Spanish flu epidemic. No, I get you, Space Cowboy. Amazing the Irish were eating potatoes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If they had them, the potatoes weren't even readily available many times. Besides the Black Plague. Yeah, the Black Plague, I don't think statistically, what did it take? 30%? Is that right? I got my questions about the Black Plague too. I don't even know what those questions are, but I got questions. Not on the number of people unalived by it, but how it came to be. Was it chemical warfare? I don't know. It's brought by rats. Really, it's just brought by rats. We get rats all the time. And it still exists. I know people still get the plague, but it's a little dated, don't you think? And go to the doctor and tell him you got the plague. Let's see. It's like saying I got the Ohio shakes, right? Like it's a thing of the past. Stop getting the plague. Spanish, Mayans, and Native Americans were all here before Europe. All I'm saying. We rolled in hard, but this has been a melting pot since the day we came across the pond, so I get annoyed. Not sure. Oh, maybe that's between you and Super Elite Grunt? Well, the Spanish weren't here before the Europeans, though, to be fair, right? The Spanish are Europeans. Mayans and Native Americans, yes. Not being picky with you, Hester, just saying. The Battle of Mabia was the largest battle in the North Continent until the Civil War. Oh, we've talked about that before. Let me go look that up after this. Yes, Bamadiana. Watchman says, was the Black Plague poisoning of wells and water sources? I don't know. And I don't have, this is just a hunch. It's a suspicion, not even a hunch that I have. It's a series of questions that I have that I need to delve into on my own. Maybe I'll bring that back to the live stream. Something just never has set right with me about that. Doesn't mean that it's not real, but I don't know, guys. I got a pretty good nose for these things. The Vikings went to Canada. Yeah, we have an episode on that. It's from a while ago. But Eric the Red, it's been a while since we did it, but I believe Eric the Red, son of Leif Erikson, is that right? Game over here. And they got into a small battle, and one of them got unalived, and they buried him somewhere in Nova Scotia, I believe. Eric the Red, yeah, okay. The Norse discovered Americas before the Spanish. I would agree with that, but I wonder if and when the Polynesians discovered, say, California, South America, in there on the western side. Because I think they did. I think there's the Chumash people in California look way too Polynesian. Their canoes are the same as Polynesian canoes. They're dugout canoes. And there's chicken bones that were found in South America. No, chicken bones that were found in Polynesia that I believe only came from South America. And sweet potatoes that were found. Maybe I have this reversed, but potatoes found in one place, chicken bones found in the other. And there would be no way for those things to make it to those places unless there was trans-Pacific trade. I believe the Norse came down as far as Minnesota, Bamadiana says. Are you talking about the rune stone? Because I don't know whether the rune stone has been debunked, but I don't see why they couldn't have made it to Minnesota. Because you could take the lakes in hundreds of miles, right? And they may have very well gone pretty far south down America's eastern seaboard. And I've seen lots of theories that, the Irish they got there first. I don't think the Irish did. I don't think what there are other Chinese. I don't know. I don't think that's the case. There are some like anchor weights off the coast of Los Angeles that are like circle stones, like stone circles, and they look a lot like the anchors that Chinese sailing vessels would have used in, let's say, the 1200s, somewhere around there. So that is curious. They aren't like naturally occurring stone rings, and not impossible if the Polynesians got here, that the Chinese got here. I just don't see a ton of their influence on the coastal native cultures. Let's see. Where I feel like I do see, or it seems like there is some Polynesian influence. Let's see. Mojo, let me flip through these. I'll go further. I believe that through the church that Ferdinand and Isabella knew there was a new world and would risk 3 ships for it on a whim. That's my belief. Bering Land Bridge wouldn't risk. Oh, you're saying that the church, I go farther. I believe that through the church that Ferdinand and Isabella knew there was a new world and wouldn't risk 3 ships on it for a whim. Oh, I see what you're saying. They knew there was a new world out there. Yeah, probably. It seems a little unlikely to me that the official story is like, we just didn't know anything was there. Like, I feel like you probably knew something was there, but maybe not. You really thought you were just sailing to India from Europe by going west? Maybe. Bamadiana, yes, I believe the Kensington Runestone is real. Yeah, very well could be. because they found some pretty exact text on there, right? Like there would be no way for it'd be very, very difficult for it to be forged. Is it possible the Vikings made it to southern Arizona? I have read Native American accounts of light-skinned, blonde-haired people in southern Arizona 400 or 500 years ago. That I think would most likely be the conquistadors. I think we have a notion of the Spanish as being dark haired, dark bearded, but many of them looked kind of like this, like blonde hair, even light skinned, blonde haired. Like they were noticeably European. What we think of as Spanish today, I think we think of in a racially mixed sense, as far as like a generation or two into their incursion and maybe intrusion into Mexico. But the Spaniards were a lot of times very light skinned, blonde haired guys. So that's probably uh, more in line with what actually happened or what the theories are. Let's see. I like tacos. Okay, bro. They ain't going anywhere. I'm not looking to get into it. Nobody. Okay. I'm not sure where that's going, but I like tacos too. I'm more pro burrito. Central California, more of a burrito place in my experience. We have plenty of tacos. Don't get me wrong. We got lots of tacos. But Texas, very taco heavy. Very, very taco heavy. It's hard to find a burrito here. Let's see. Columbus's wife's father was a Templar Knight. Really? I didn't know that. The Templar Knights we kind of got to do an episode on. Conquistadors were all over the American Southwest. Yeah, I mean, from Mexico up to Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Baja California, all the way over to Florida, Georgia, Mississippi. The Tejano, we'll have the Tejano Odom people have said there were some light-skinned people in the desert. You might be talking about Cabeza de Vaca, because he was traveling with a small party. They were known as the Children of the Sun, basically like a shipwrecked conquistador. We've done an episode on him. He was the first European guy to see the vast majority of the Southwest. And the tribes, yes, many tribes have stories of him because there was only a couple of them and they'd never seen anything like that before. How about the genetic testing showing Polynesian genes in the South American native populations? Clock Cutter says. I didn't know that, but it makes sense to me. Yes, some populations of the South American native populations. It makes sense. And like, how would those two items, how would the chicken bones get to South America and the sweet potatoes get to Polynesia? Spanish kicked last Muslims out in 1492, same year that Columbus went to America. True. Let's see. That's when the Spanish Inquisition started. That's true. The Spanish are in some cases very fair skinned. Yeah, not all, but I think especially back then, they're far more fair skinned than we would think of. Elite Super Grunt says, I am Hispanic. Right on, man. Most of my friends are. You grew up in California, man. I've made many a tamale, eaten lots of menudo. Let's see. My family has fair skin. Yeah. Look at Canelo Alvarez. The fact that humans were traversing the Pacific possibly 10,000 years ago fascinates me to no end. Yeah, and if you understand their sailing methodology, it makes a lot of sense. They'll say the current is going away from the Americas if you're in Polynesia. And really so you would think intuitively, well, you don't want to sail there, but really that's the way they did it. They would sail against the current as they left, because that meant if things didn't work out, you could ride the current back. So that makes sense. Their actual capability to bring large ships thousands of miles has been proven time and time again throughout Polynesia. They would bring like a whole like survival platform. They had pigs and chickens and water and everything. It was just on a big platform with a sail. And they'd been doing this for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Elite Super Grunt says, I am related to President Carranza of Mexico. Cool, man. Big fan of Mexico. Hopefully, as is conveyed through this episode. I think the term blue-blooded came from the Iberian Peninsula, referring to the people in now northern Spain. Really? I didn't know that. Mexico has a great history. It does. That's why we talked about the Battle of Chapultepec Castle at the very beginning here, which is seminal thing in Mexican history. A lot of people there know it very well, know the story of the Chapultepec Castle. And in America, we don't, even though it's in the Marine Corps hymn. Mexico has a great history. Let's see. Nick Sweeney bringing the history there, especially Zapata and Pancho Villa. For yeah, they have. I want to do a Pancho Villa episode. They were called blue buds because we can see the blue veins in their light-skinned faces. Yeah, I did know that. I just didn't know they came from the Iberian Peninsula. Elite Super Grunt says the halls of Montezuma. That's right. That's the Chapultepec Castle. I mean, so many people know those words, the shores of Tripoli and the halls of Montezuma, but they don't know what the other one is talking about. So it's I thought we gotta bring light to that. We'll do a Barbary Coast episode soon too. But the Chapultepec Castle is just so wild. It's a castle on an old monument or an old Aztec temple, and then there's basically a fight for the whole war, and they have kids fighting on the Mexican side and Marines on the American side, and you have to fight this kind of medieval battle for the future of Mexico. That's nuts. There's a Pancho Villa movie that stars Telly Savalas as Pancho Villa. Really? Kojak, the guy that played Kojak. Let's see. Scanning through the chat real quick. All right, what are we at here? We're at 2.5 hours. We'll start to wrap it up here in a minute. Yeah, that's Kojak, right? What are we at here? 60% of you have heard of Smedley Butler. I'll close the chat here too. Close the poll. 60-40. I'm proud of you guys. Most everybody's heard of Smedley Butler. Good. This will give us some more conspiracy fuel to jump into next time. It would be great for you to do an episode on Pancho Villa. Yeah, fascinating guy. Great leader and like a good showman. Like he knew how to he would like have them reshoot parts of battles and stuff. He was an impressive dude. Just super interesting. Yeah, is Emilio Zapata too? Yep, absolutely. And I mean, this is a different time period, but Joaquin Murrieta, he's very famous in the foothills of California because he was supposedly had a secret tunnel in the town of Hornitos underneath a saloon, I believe. Pancho Villa, got that one. I love your Mountain Man episodes. Bama Deanna says, yeah, we got plenty of those coming. Don't worry. Lots of those coming. Those may be my favorites too. I really have a good time writing those. Kelly Savalas Pancho Villa movie is free on YouTube. Really? Okay, I'm going to watch it. Wait, we'll watch it right now. Let's wrap up, Space Cowboy. Hang out. We're almost done. Arizona boy, got to hit the rack. No problem, dog. We'll see you tomorrow. Come on back tomorrow. We'll do a stream tomorrow night. Murrieta doesn't ring a bell. Oh, yeah. He's very famous in California. It's Murrieta. Murrieta. Mountain Men are my favorite. Bama Deanna says, yeah, I have to say that, especially Jed Smith's stories. I'm really partial to Jed Smith. The dude's that's a bad man and a good dude. Let's see. Peace out, Arizona boy. All right. Anybody have anything? Last chance on a Saturday night. Anything else you want to throw in here? Any other questions, comments? Bama Deanna says, Jed Smith is he's my favorite. He's my favorite. That's my boy. Murrieta. Yep, that's it. Joaquin. I believe Joaquin is spelled with an O. I think Joaquin Phoenix does it that way. Very interesting guy, though. And they ended up decapitating him. That's the story, anyways. Thanks, brother. Have a good night, Acid. Thank you, too, man. Thanks for stopping by. Come on back tomorrow. I'll put a post up. I think it'll be the same time tomorrow. Please watch something about Snowshoe. Oh, yeah. Let me write that down. Snowshoe Thompson. Snowshoe Thompson. Okay. Sorry about that, Space Cowboy. If you can see the office, we got stuff there. We got books everywhere. So there's always 1,000 topics running around. Let's see. One of the best parts of original Red Dawn is when he tells the guy his dad named him after Jed Smith. Really? Really? I'll have to watch that again. Oh, dude. Yes. That just kind of flashed back in my mind. Yeah, cool. I don't know why. I guess I haven't watched that in probably 20 years. And that I guess it didn't register with me. He does. Yeah, very cool. Like, sorry, is the movie like maybe slightly corny? I guess. I don't know. I don't know. But a great movie. Come on, great movie. Let's see. Not the new one. The new one wasn't. It's whatever. But the old one, great movie. As a kid, I was like, this can't be. This is the most genius movie I've ever seen. Let's see. What are your thoughts on the possibility of future airstrips and SF ops in Venezuela? They're probably already there, dog. If they talk about SF possibly being somewhere, I think they've been there for a while. And remember, a couple of years ago, those former SF guys got arrested, and I'm guessing they're still locked up, but for trying to start a coup against the Venezuelan government. That was Venezuela, right? So something's going on there. If we hear any inklings of SF, and hey man, SF's cool, but I'm saying their job is to go in and set up foreign internal defense, right? To buy through and with. So if we hear that they might be somewhere in the future, they're probably already there. Yeah, airstrikes. Yeah, SF ops. I don't know if they're making tons of airstrikes yet, but I would be surprised if there wasn't some kind of special forces element there. And I'm like, again, just a civilian who's read a bunch of books, but you know, Jeff Turner, Comanche Hater, is one of the coolest stories too. Yeah, we've covered that. I might kind of like do a director's cut of that, and because I feel like we do a better job on it now. So that might be something I toy with, like doing just revamp it, put better pictures, and kind of tighten the script up a little bit because it's such a good story. That's one of the first episodes we did. And a lot of people, even in Texas, most people have no idea. Mojo says CAG, probably been there, definitely. I mean, yeah, obviously, like, I don't know, right? But it seems like that's more of an SF mission, you think, so far. But like, if they had a hostage rescue to do or a direct small strike on a particular politician or criminal or whatever, yeah, probably. And CAG works directly for the president, right? So they can be called in, but it seems like they're more of a direct strike action force. And I don't know, man. I don't know. You could be right. CAG could be anywhere. Probably the ones blowing up boats. Yeah, man. That's true. Yeah, it could be SIF or some whatever SIF is now. The drones are blowing up the boats. True, but I mean, yeah. There's yeah, for sure. Anytime you see stuff like that, like CAG could be there. That's for sure. It could just be two guys. I mean, you don't need a ton of them. Who knows? Who knows though? Yep, they do intelligence there. Yep. It could be what SOG. No, it's not SOG. The CIA elements. Maybe it is Special Operations Group and Special Activities Division, right? And all of these may have changed very recently. Best book I've ever read on this, though, is Relentless Strike by Sean Naylor. Obviously, any book that you get is going to have, if they're called CAG, they're not called CAG anymore. If they're called Delta, if they're called SEAL Team 6 or whatever, they're not called that anymore. But it gives you a good idea of how things work and what force has been where and what group does what. Marines are currently on Trinidad, Tobago, according to someone from another chat. Oh, don't get me in trouble. I don't want to be releasing any confidential stuff. Yeah, I know. Everybody seems to be massing near Venezuela. Let's see. Don't start no, won't be no. The Monroe Doctrine is don't start no S, won't be no S. Yeah, pretty much. John Coulter is another favorite. Bama Deanna says, yeah, that's another one. It's like, oh man, he's got so many stories that it's hard to pick one for an episode, but we need to revisit him again. Total champ. I think that the run from the Blackfoot really got to him, though. I think from there on out, he kind of deteriorated, sadly, and by most accounts, though. regarding Venezuela, Monroe Doctrine has been activated. That seems to be right. The Marines are probably force recon Marines. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, you would know better than I, but you would think so, right? Like we're not sending tons of conventional forces down there. Doesn't seem. Yes, but can you imagine that? He was tough. Bama Deanna says John Coulter was tough. He was a tough dude. He was a tough dude. And super skilled as a mountain man. I mean, he was on the Lewis and Clark expedition. I think we underestimate the level of skill those guys had. They could do anything. They could start fires. They could tie knots. They could fix tent poles or fix gear. They could do rudimentary battlefield medicine. They knew plant medicine. They knew hunting. They knew everything. Jack Hayes was also tough as nails. Yep. And same thing for the Rangers. Those guys weren't just shooters. Horsemen, outdoorsmen, battlefield medicine, armorers. They were good gunsmiths. Let's see. This source is a Trinidad and Tobago national living there now. I'll ask him about numbers. He's described them as training. Yeah, there's lots of training all over the place. They do a lot of training in major metropolitan areas in America. Let's see. I think Marines were recently training in Puerto Rico, Battalion Recon, and other units. You guys are going to get me in trouble releasing classified information, aren't you? You're trying to get me on a watch list. Anybody would it be tough to fight the Comanche? Yeah. There's just no arguing that. You would have to be, oh man, almost insanely brave. Because it's just like, if you lose this fight, if your plan here about we're going to charge them, but if you do this and it doesn't work out, we're all going to get like coals thrown on our stomachs until we are no longer alive, right? Like this is kind of what's at stake. You're not going to just get unalived quickly, right? It's going to be a bad process. And they'd seen this. They knew that was what's at stake, and they were just down to go do it. Hayes was just a madman. In the best sense, like he wasn't. He was a very smart, calculating guy, but he was the first guy in Texas that was just like, well, let's go get him. Let's just go make it happen. Let's see. Walker, cool as hell too. Yeah. I did an episode on Walker, the original Walker Texas Ranger. He helped Colt design a gun for the Rangers and the Sharps carbine. Did he help? He helped design the Sharps carbine? I didn't know that. But yeah, he personally went up to New York, met with Colt, and he didn't even get to use it. I don't even think I think he had been KIA at Huamantla, the Battle of Huamantla, weeks before the first shipment of 6-shot revolvers arrived. Either weeks before or only weeks after. So, wasn't around very long. Tragically, he was just a super smart, super influential, super brave Ranger. And by all accounts, a respectable guy. Let's see. Empire of the Summer Moon describes their tortures. Yeah, they are bad. It's one of the better books that describe it. Let's see. And that was just how warfare in Texas worked. If you got captured and you were a fighting age male, that was just it. They were going to take you out. And really, the more you cried and screamed, the worse they made it. Like if you could maintain some level of stoicism, they'd try to end it pretty quickly, which is right. Like that's pretty. LOL. There was a training video I saw on YouTube recently. Yeah, they'll send them. You could see them flying in the little birds all over LA. That was a couple of years ago. They had a big training exercise all through LA. They took you out slowly, says Bama Deanna. They did. It was bad. All right, just saying. Change the tide. Yeah, the Comanche were the enemy I would least like to engage on the old West Front, on the frontier. All right. I think we're getting ready to wrap it up here. It is, oh man, it's already 10:45 here. That's cool. I stay up till like 3 a.m. So I'll do this all night, but we're going to leave some in the tank for tomorrow. So we'll be back tomorrow. 8 p.m. again is the plan. I've got a list of topics. I'm not sure which one it's going to be. So I'll post that tomorrow morning. I want to thank you all again for coming out. Had a great time. Always fun to, yeah, thanks, Mama Deanna. Thank you so much. And thank you for the live chat too. Hope you have a blessed Sunday tomorrow, and we'll be back tomorrow night. If you haven't already, go check out the Marine episode we just put out this morning. And I think it's a really good one. If you like the Marine history, it's got 3 really good stories in there. And oh, Space Cowboy sneaking in with the last one. I have a book about the Alamo by Albert A. Nofi. I have not. Let me see. Can you email it to me? History at the okcorral@gmail.com. Because I'm not going to be able to, if I write that down right now, it's going to be like chicken scratch. Thanks for the stream. Yeah, thank you very much. Come on back tomorrow. Come check out our episodes. We got lots of episodes and shorts and everything we're putting out. Also, a lot of people are confused with the shorts. If you want to watch the episode that the short is about, the episode is always linked to it just right below the video. I try to have like a little arrow pointing downwards, but some people aren't super familiar with shorts yet. So that's a real easy way to link to the episode. Elite Super Grunt, thanks HOKC, great stream. Thanks, man. Thanks you again for your service. We had a good Marines episode, so couldn't do a Marines episode without Marines. Thank you very much. Making sure I'm not missing anybody. Yeah, go check out our episodes that are out. If you haven't yet, subscribe on Instagram. Subscribe to our newsletter. It's a weekly newsletter. We're going to put some really cool stuff in there if you're interested in Old West history or history at all. And then tomorrow night, we will be back 8 o'clock. 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. We'll have a couple of shorts out for you as well. And then on to the week. We got 2 or 3 episodes coming out, plenty of live streams, lots of stuff coming. So stay tuned and tell your friends. We want to build the channel as much as we can. We think we got some important stories to tell. So we want to get them out to as many people as we can. So thanks again. We really appreciate everybody being here. Had a great time. And we will see you tomorrow, 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific. Thanks again for being here. God bless. Have a good night.